across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 electric hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 7 o'clock. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 03444 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, May the 20th. Here's what's coming up. Scrape away that carefully curated, down-to-earth Northern Bloke Act, and wannabe Labour Prime Minister Andy Burnham comes across as just another out-of-touch Labour woke warrior who believes in all the ludicrous claptrap working-class voters detest. If he really doesn't want to rejoin the EU, why did he repeatedly say that he did? And now it emerges that Right On Andy is mad keen on letting men in dresses invade ladies' loos and women's safe spaces. Doubtless, like new Health Secretary James Murray, Mr Burnham believes women can have penises. He's a politician who's never done anything apart from being a politician. How will Burnham fare against a real person with a real job in the real world? As in Reform UK's candidate at the Makerfield by-election, pipe fitter and plumber, Robert Kenyon. That is the question. What do you reckon? 03444 499 1000. Robert's also genuinely local. He's from Makerfield. Andy Burnham isn't. Also on today's action-packed show, we'll go back to benighted Bournemouth, where a local councillor will respond to my report yesterday that the once genteel South Coast seaside resort has turned into ground zero in Britain's escalating asylum seeker sex crime crisis. Plus, the continuing scourge of the political class's obsession with digital ID cards. When are the Westminster bubble gang going to work out that we just don't want them? Ever. 03444 499 1000. In other news, police investigate a 1-year-old baby desperado who's slightly injured another toddler. Haven't the ridiculous Rozzers got anything better to do? 03444 499 1000. Starmer delays the release of the Mandelson files that are set to reveal the extent of his stupidity in appointing pedo's pal Peter Mandelson as ambassador to America, and the extent of his lies ever since. Rachel Reeves enrages supermarket bosses by seeking communist-style price caps on milk, eggs and basic groceries. Starmer relaxes sanctions on Russian oil as the global fuel shortage looms. And Meghan reveals just how much she despises the royal family by cutting them out of her 8th wedding anniversary photo album, naturally invading her own cherished privacy along the way by posting all the previously unseen pictures on Instagram. Thus, Miss Markle's thoroughly well-deserved reputation as a world-class hypocrite remains intact. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday afternoon together. And in the studio, it is my privilege to welcome our ace reporter, talk presenter, Samara Gill. Hi, Samara.
Hi, Kev. Great to be with you.
Good to have you in the studio and on the show. Let's talk about this Bournemouth story. I think we kind of uncovered something really quite sinister going on in that once famously genteel resort. It used to be the epitome of, you know, polite, upscale, middle-class, seaside gentility. But now it's got 3 massive asylum seeker hotels, hundreds and hundreds of mostly young foreign men roaming about the town, and also clearly responsible for a disproportionate amount of sex crimes. Now, Statistics dating back to last August reveal that migrants make up 0.6% of the population. Of the sex crime cases pending, awaiting prosecution, at that point, 0.6% of the population. Of the sex crimes pending and waiting to be prosecuted, migrants were responsible for 40% of them.
Shocking.
That is the kind of disproportion that has driven this town into the ground. The people of Bournemouth are devastated. The town has been ruined by this.
The town has been ruined, and it's just now that we're actually feeling the repercussions of just years of government failure towards this. And I think it's really important to focus in on a town like Bournemouth and use it as almost a microcosm to look at the wider issue that's going on. You know, you say that it was postcard England. You know, that's what it used to be. And now residents are watching hotels turn into these long-term migrant accommodations while this sort of antisocial behaviour and crime continues. And it's like, it hasn't even been considered, you know, the placement of some of these asylum hotels are right opposite universities, you know, places where there are young women, where there are youths in general. And, you know, I'm not saying that all these, I mean, they don't get to choose where they end up, these asylum seekers, but it is really worrying when you see statistics like that. It is breaking point. You know, you can't get past that sort of stat.
Well, as I say, a councillor got in touch with us yesterday after we did this story about the disproportionate number of migrants committing alleged sex crimes in Bournemouth, to say, you know, you don't know the half of it. You know, businesses are going bust. The tourist income is drastically down. It's turned into a dangerous place. There's no doubt about it, particularly for women. So we'll be talking to Councillor Cameron Adams in a little while about poor, benighted Bournemouth. What has gone wrong? And, you know, you just would hope, wouldn't you, that government officials, that the authorities would spare a thought for the locals in a place like Bournemouth. But they don't. They don't. Got some breaking news here. Talking of migrants, the Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030.
Goodness.
After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Wealdon District Council, the local council there, has just revealed this. So this temporary army camp used to be a cadet army training centre. Quite a beloved little part of the community there, is now going to be full of I think it's about 540 young male foreign migrants. The locals were assured it would only be short term. I mean, they've been staging protests every week. It's going to be a big one this Sunday. Now it looks as if the Crowborough Migrant Asylum Seeker Accommodation Centre will go on until at least 2030. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely being mad. You know, this is. They did kind of imply that those that were protesting were being unreasonable, far right, dare I say. I went on some of those protests in a journalistic capacity. I went outside Crowborough literally half an hour after they moved the migrants in, and you could see that these people, especially in Crowborough, because we actually also need to talk about demographic change. They usually put working class people on the front lines of the migrant crisis, put the HMOs in working class areas where they know that even if people do speak up, they can just brand them as something, and then that will silence them. But, you know, Crowborough is a quiet, leafy town in East Sussex. These people, you can see, have been pushed to their absolute limit. They're not the types that you usually see protesting about this sort of thing. But that town has been absolutely desecrated. I mean, I get messages. I think you know her too, but she's a local resident there. Not Kim, it's another Kim Bailey, but then there's another lady as well. And I
think I've had her on the show, yeah.
Yeah, and she is every day giving me a different instance of things that have been happening.
Yeah.
Just on her, going on her supermarket shop, going and getting her groceries and being followed around the supermarket children being heckled on the way home from school. This is not normal and should not go on in the United Kingdom.
The people of Crowborough, the people of Bournemouth, all of us should not have to live like this. And the government and the Home Office just doesn't consult.
Well, when did they know about this? That's what I want to know.
Well,
when did they know that that would be the plan? Did they just lie and tell the public in order to quell them?
It's the local council,
I don't know.
Wealdon District Council, is saying that now. Who knows where that information is filtering down from? But you assume it's the Home Office. They don't communicate with local communities. None of the people in Crowborough were consulted at all. And they still don't know the process of filling that army camp up with asylum seekers is still going on. Kim Bailey, the sort of chief protester there, was telling me yesterday that they still don't know exactly how many are in, but they are aware of the fact it's gradually filling up. There will be 545, but she said, but the town full of these guys just hanging out, drinking, creating an unpleasant atmosphere. And in Bournemouth, it's even worse, folks. This is happening all over the country.
In Braintree, where they bust them in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a countrywide issue.
All over the country. Is it happening to you? What do you think about this? 03444991000. Let's move on to the BBC, which actually has been doing some pretty good journalism lately. Married at First Sight is no more. I don't think that programme will be seen much at all in the 35 countries that it is screened. Channel 4 won't be showing it again, I'll tell you that, because there are allegations that the male contestants raped the female contestants. Those allegations not proved, but they're very, very damaging. Now, the BBC revealed that, so well done to them. They've been doing some good work on the migrant crisis lately, on the small boats. They've been going over to Belgium and France to check out the scene. So, journalism is breaking out. Good journalism is breaking out at the BBC, but the notoriously biased BBC, but
with multi-billion-pound budgets. But yes,
they have spoilt their copybook today. They've done a report on these Afghan fathers who are selling their kids. And it's all sympathetic towards the fathers, saying these poor men, they're so poor, they're so poverty-stricken, they're so poor that they're having to sell their children. No, BBC, we do not see these fathers who are flogging their kids as sympathetic characters. Unbelievable.
It is
tone deaf.
I know, and it's BBC World, which is honestly one of the big perpetuators of this sort of thing. I think another BBC account also posted this, but it's on bbcnews.com. It goes, the headline reads, "Selling children to survive. Afghan fathers forced to make impossible choices." Okay. Then it reads... It says, I live in fear that my children will die of hunger.
So I'll sell them.
Yeah, so I'll sell them. It's absolutely mad. It goes, in Afghanistan today, 3 in 4 people cannot meet their basic needs, according to the UN. Unemployment is rife, healthcare's struggling, and aid that was once provided has dwindled to a fraction of what it once was. That sounds like the high street on Britain, to be honest. I don't know. It doesn't. It sounds. But yeah, I mean, look, they have suffered massive poverty after the US left, and obviously the Taliban has taken over. But what the article does really fail, or did initially fail to point out, was that this tradition of Afghan men selling their daughters is a very long-standing one. It's been going on much before the economic issues came into play. So they don't really talk about that. It's just interesting. Why?
But do you know why they do that? Because it's a medieval hellhole. It's a backward country where fathers sell their children, and then stupid broadcasters from Britain like the BBC turn up and say, oh, you poor men, you're so poverty-stricken, you're having to sell your children. Our sympathy is with you. I mean, talk about getting it totally wrong. I don't care how poor you are, how poverty-stricken you are, selling your children is never justified. It's a disgusting thing to do.
It's horrendous. And you know, this BBC article maybe could have focused on the girls that are being sold into slavery. I don't want to go too dark on this drive time show, but you can understand why the girls are being sold off and not the boys. This is the sick Afghanistani culture on some levels. You know, it's not on every level that this happens, but on some levels of desperation and poverty where this happens. And I just find the BBC framing so horrendous. It genuinely is one of the worst headlines I've ever read.
Yeah, as if we're going to feel any sympathy for a father who sells his children. They're poverty-stricken, aren't they? They're starving. They've got a humanitarian crisis. I'm sure they have got a humanitarian crisis. That's because their government are a bunch of savages. They're a bunch of medieval savages. You know, the Taliban. Who couldn't run a bath, let alone a country. That's why they got a humanitarian crisis. This is a backward country. And we should never sympathise with parents who sell their children, but the BBC did. Let me know what you think about that. I think it's just astonishing.
I just want to read one line. Abdul tells the BBC he's willing to sell his girls for marriage or for domestic work. She's 5 years old, by the way, this daughter that he's sold. If I sell one daughter, I could feed the rest of my children, the boys, for at least 4 years. I mean, it is disgusting, but it's been going on for a long time. I just don't understand the BBC framing here. It's just infuriating.
Yeah, there's a bit of a moral vacuum involved in the reporting of that story. You know, I mean, you know, sympathy to desperate people in a poverty-stricken country, of course, but we can never condone making money by selling your damn children. It's unbelievable. The BBC do condone it. What's wrong with those people? What is wrong with them? Or at least
they frame it that way.
Honestly, what is wrong with them? Let me ask you this. I watched PMQs today. There was it was a real Westminster bubble session.
It was.
Now people go, Kimmy Bidenoff, brilliant line of questioning. Her line of questioning was this, to try and skewer Starmer, because Starmer has relaxed sanctions on Russian oil in order to try and stave off some of the effects of the upcoming massive fuel shortage caused by the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. He's doing that to try and keep fuel prices down and to try and make sure there's enough fuel to power our aircraft so people can go on holidays. So actually, good. Well done, Keir Starmer. I'm glad he's done this. And of course, he's saying, we haven't relaxed sanctions. We haven't. We're still really, really tough on Russia. And Kemi Badenoch thinks that we're all going to go, oh, yeah, that's terrible. Labour are buying, relaxing sanctions on dirty, filthy Russian oil. Well, if it makes petrol cheaper and I still get to go on holiday, on my foreign holiday, I'm talking for all the people of Britain here, as it just so happens I am going on one in a while. That's not the point. Well, it is really. If he's doing that to keep fuel prices low and to make sure we can still have our Mediterranean holidays, then good for Keir Starmer. And yet this Westminster bubble gang are all going, oh, we're going to help Ukraine. You should never have done that. You should never have done that. So Kemi Badenoch basically saying, to hell with your holidays, to hell with your cheap fuel. You can't relax sanctions on Russia. I don't care. I want cheap fuel and I want to go on holiday. Good for Keir.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought no one else was going to put that point forward, but you did.
It would be me, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm sick of it. Honestly, I'm sick of the same Tory government that told us that everyone needs to freeze for winter so that we can help Ukraine. I'm sorry. I mean, we've given them billions of dollars, and all I see are the Ukrainian oligarchs getting fatter and fatter. I witnessed a £145 million yacht over the summer that was owned by a Ukrainian interestingly, he was a bin collector merely 5 years ago, and they were laughing. He's
collecting a lot of bins.
He said, Britain helped me pay for this, and laughed. Okay, that's actually what's going on. Okay, do you know what I mean? And, that's the sad thing, because that money was meant for the front lines. There's equal amounts of corruption on both sides, I think. Russia is massively corrupt. Ukraine is also corrupt. I agree with you about Kemi. You know, Boris really used Ukraine in order to bolster his own political image. He used it as sort of this muffler because he was going through a lot of drama with Partygate and all that, and he wanted
make himself the hero of Kiev.
Yeah, and he still believes that. Kemi now is totally tone deaf about this. I agree with you.
She's part of the Westminster political elite. And they're obsessed. You see them all on telly. It doesn't matter what party. They've all got their little Ukraine badges on. Their obsession with Ukraine is not shared by the people of this country. I get it. Geopolitically, we've got to make sure that Ukraine can hold Russian off. We've got that Putin cannot get away with this.
He's doing terrible stuff.
That's fair enough. I know we've got to do it, but this idea that we're all going to go, oh, it's great because it now costs me, 500 quid to fill my car up, and I can't go on holiday, but at least Ukraine's all right. Is that what you think? Because I don't. I'm sick of it. I get it. We've got to help Ukraine. I do get that. But don't assume that we're prepared to sacrifice our holidays and have sky-high fuel prices for the sake of Zelensky and Kiev. I don't think people do well. Let me know what you think, folks. 0344 499 1000. Keir Starmer, of course, denied that he's relaxing sanctions. He could have done himself a lot of favours and said, look, in politics, you have to be pragmatic sometime. I don't want people to have sky-high fuel prices, and I want them to be able to go on their Mediterranean holidays. That's why I've relaxed sanctions. If he said that, I think people would like him, but of course he's pretending he's not doing it. Ridiculous. Samara, fantastic. Samara Gill there. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Councillor Cameron Adams from Bournemouth, who's responding to our story yesterday about the asylum seeker sex crime epidemic there. That next. Stay tuned.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, welcome back. Give me a ring. Let me know what you think about the BBC's coverage of these Afghan dads selling their kids. This is the headline: selling children to survive. Afghan fathers forced to make impossible choices. You know, it's all sympathetic to them. If I don't sell this child, I won't be able to feed my other ones. You know, I sympathise with, you know, the horror of poverty and starvation, but for God's sake, you can't, I've got to sell this kid to feed my other kids. That that is not a sympathetic stance to take. Let me know what you think, folks. 03444991000. We're going to talk about Bournemouth in just a little while, but first, we're going to talk about Andy Burnham. Now, a man who knows Andy Burnham very well politically is a Reform UK candidate who stood against him in the race to become Manchester Mayor, and he's now board member at Reform UK, and he written a brilliant piece in the Mail calling Andy Burnham the Groucho Marx of politics. In other words, I have principles, but if you don't like them, I have others. Let's talk to board member for Reform UK, former candidate against Andy Burnham to be the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Dan Barker. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. Now, you're a Manchester man through and through. You went to university there. You brought your family up there. You lived there.
Yes.
I suppose Burnham can make some kind of local claim as well. But this idea that he's the king of the north, the marvel of Manchester, the man who turned Manchester into the envy of the world is nonsense, isn't it? I mean, he got a few cheap buses running. That's it. Apart from that, he's had a catalogue of disaster, hasn't he, running that city?
Well, he's had, the buses, a coat of paint. It's all fur coat and no knickers. We've yet to see what they cost. There's no new routes. Same with the tram, which has grown over the 25 years that I've lived there, but it's grown organically. And that would have happened whether he was mayor or anyone else was mayor or not. It's grown one bit at a time. And, in terms of his failures, there was an enormous money spent on the clean air zone, which had to be cancelled because it wasn't justified in the first place, and it was cancelled due to the public backlash at the costs of driving your car in and out of the city centre.
60 quid. He was doing a Sadiq Khan, wasn't he? A clean air zone, a ULEZ kind of thing, saying, we've got to clean up the city, imposing ULEZ fees on areas that are completely clean air anyway, and then saying 60 quid to get in the city because he wanted to raise revenue, just like Sadiq Khan. And when motorists in Manchester realised that this man of the people, Andy Burnham, wanted to charge them 60 quid to drive into their own city centre, they rebelled to such a furious extent that Burnham had to abandon the whole scheme, having wasted more than 100 million quid on it.
104 million pounds, yes, and he got a real easy ride off the media, off the BBC, off the Manchester Evening News. The only people who really hold him to account is the London media, the Telegraph, stations like this. And but I do think now with his by-election, he's put all of it on black. He's done a massive gamble, and I think his record is being put rightly under the microscope. We can really see what sort of man he is.
Well, let's have a look at what sort of man he is. Take a look at this.
Long term, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say it. I want to rejoin. I hope in my lifetime I see this country rejoin the European Union. I'm absolutely clear about that. I believe in unions of all kinds. The union that is the UK. The European Union benefited this country. Trade unions, people prosper more when they're part of unions of countries or whatever. That's my belief, so I'm going to say it clearly.
What a load of crap. But he also, we're learning today, Dan, he believes that men in dresses should be allowed to invade ladies' loos and female safe spaces. We've got a clip for you here proving that. Take it away, Andy, again.
Clearly there is a group of people who do feel that toilets should be safe space only for women. And there shouldn't be anyone who was biologically a male shouldn't be allowed in that space. Now, I personally think that's a majority view. I think it's a minority view, quite a small minority view actually. And I don't want to see clash, as I have seen in the last year, clashes between people standing up for trans rights and people supposedly standing up for women's rights. So don't start culture wars in Greater Manchester that people are falsely kind of portraying their gender in a different way just because they want to, abuse a women's space or encroach on women's safety. maybe it happens, but you're talking a tiny number of people.
Yeah, and women, it's a question of women's rights. Women do not want men, biological men, in their ladies' loos or in their female safe spaces. Dan, you scrape away Andy Burnham's Northern Down-to-Earth Bloke Act, and what you've got is a classic Westminster politician elite, you know, droning on about, you know, trans rights, rejoining the EU. He loves net zero, all of that stuff that's given the people of Makerfield and the rest of us sky-high energy prices. If Reform UK managed to point out all of what he stands for, I believe the down-to-earth, the genuinely down-to-earth people of Makerfield will say, no thanks, mate. What do you think?
Well, just a comment on a couple of things. I think the EU comment was the truth. And I think his comments about single spaces, safe spaces for women, I think just betrays how woke he actually is. And I think if he actually ever made it to be PM, people should be aware he's much further to the left than Starmer. There'd be more immigration, more debt, more woke, more authoritarianism, more oppression, more of an attack on free speech. So don't be fooled by the rapper. This guy is a socialist. And he believes in all this nonsense. And the government will head to the hard left, and we will all pay for the price of it. Turning back to Makerfield, I really think he has put it all on black there. You couldn't call it now. Either way, I think we've got a good chance, better than good, with our candidate, which is the complete opposite of him. He's a wily career politician who's making a cynical career move to benefit himself and Labour. And we've put up a guy who represents the local community, was born there, lives there, family raised there, who will truly be a champion for Makerfield. And I think, for me, the choice is obvious if you live there.
Yeah, Robert Kenyon.
Got to be reform.
Yeah, Robert Kenyon is a real guy with a real job, a real local. Yes. Andy Burnham is another one of these politicos who's never done anything else. His whole life he's been a politician. Don't forget he was Blairite for Gordon Brown, wasn't he?
Brownite, Corbynite.
Yes. Yeah, well, there's a joke, isn't there?
That's right.
A Blairite, a Corbynite and a Brownite walk into a pub, and the landlord says, "Good evening, Mr. Burnham."
What would you like to drink?
Yeah, I mean, he is a shapeshifter, isn't he? I mean,
he's a slippery customer. Yes, he's a slippery customer, yeah.
And how do you think the people of Makerfield, you know that area, and he will be out-localed by Robert Kenyon. Robert Kenyon's genuinely from Makerfield. He's not.
Yeah, stood before.
Yeah, he's a Scouser, isn't he, for God's sake? But how do you think the
when
people...
it suits him, yeah.
How do you think the people of Makerfield will react to being treated like a pawn in Andy Burnham's political chess game? You know, vote for me because I need to get down to Westminster and become the Prime Minister. How do you think that they will respond to being taken for granted like that?
Well, apparently it's unprecedented, an MP stepping aside for someone else to go and challenge like this. So this political history, I don't think it's going to go down very well. I think people will look at this and think, we don't like being forced to vote. We don't like being, forced. We've already elected somebody. He was supposed to be serving us. Now he's going on a bit of a scandal, actually, Josh Simons. But I do think, Rob did very well at the general election last time. He got above what we got elsewhere. He closed the margin with Labour considerably. This was a safe seat for Labour, has been since the early 80s. And I think we will see an exciting by-election here. I was out on the doorstep at the weekend. There was a lot of support for reform, hardly any for Labour. And we've got big teams going up there every day, 3 times a day, and that will be us until the 18th of June.
One last question, Dan. Great piece in the Mail, by the way. One last question. He's a bit dodgy on the rape gang scandal as well, isn't he? Maggie Oliver, the famous whistleblower who alerted the entire nation to the scourge of the rape gang scandal, said that he was very slippery. That he said the right things. He tweaked a little bit. She said that basically though he'd agree. Yeah, I'll do this, and she said he would then disappear. So like so many Labour politicians, he's a bit dodgy on the rape gangs, isn't he?
Well, I think particularly with Andy, he's he's championed the Hillsborough law, he's championed the Grenfell law, he's championed the atomic veterans, the blood scandal, anything. If it's back in the 80s or the 70s or even the 90s, he wants to be there, when people are, at the end of their life. But the stuff that's actually happening on his doorstep, where he is the police and crime commissioner, he could have ordered an inquiry. He could have ordered that in Greater Manchester, and he has been timid and he's failed. And I think we cannot forget that. We cannot let him that be lost in this election, how timid he's been about one of the, something that's been one of the worst areas of the country for this offending. And he has done almost nothing.
Dan, great to have you on. Come on again soon. Dan Barker there, board member for Reform UK. And we are going to, in the interest of balance, we won't do it today, but we're going to have to get somebody from Labour, maybe even Andy himself, to tell us why he thinks he's a good candidate. You've got to get to both sides of the argument. But that essentially is the view from Manchester, the view from Reform UK. So a Labour person will be on the show soon. Next up, we're going to go down to Bournemouth, as I was just saying, and we're going to talk to a councillor there about the seriousness of the asylum seeker sex crime crisis there. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Breaking news. I can only give you the straight news here because it is still sub judice, as you will understand. You remember those two guys accused of, who were actually videoed in a massive fight with the police at Manchester Airport? You remember that? The two Muslim guys, Mohammed Fahir Amaz and Mohammed Ahmad. A retrial jury has been discharged at Liverpool Crown Court concerning those two guys after the jury failed to reach verdicts over allegations that Mohammed Fahir Amaz, 21, and 26-year-old Mohammed Ahmad assaulted a police officer at Manchester Airport. So that's all I can say. That long-running legal case will continue after the verdict was failed to be reached by the jury. So that we'll have to leave that there. Now, let's carry on. Let's go over to my next guest. As I say, we need to talk about Bournemouth. We ran the story yesterday of how a Syrian migrant had forced a local teenage girl, 19 years old, into a portaloo by the beach, locked the door and then viciously raped her. He was found guilty of that offence. Yesterday, he awaits sentence, but it's shone a harsh light on the growing problem in the once genteel Bournemouth. It used to be the epitome of polite society on the south coast. It was where well-to-do people went to retire. Well, now it's got three massive asylum seeker hotels, hundreds and hundreds of young male migrants milling around the town, businesses all boarded up, tourist profits have plummeted, and frankly it's become a dangerous place to live. Of the cases, of the sex crime cases awaiting prosecution last August, 40% of them were allegedly committed by migrants. And migrants only make up 0.6% of the population of Bournemouth. So there you have it, a sinister, seriously worrying disproportion there. Let's talk to, he got in touch with us when we did this report yesterday. He's Reform UK councillor for the Kinson area, Bournemouth councillor Cameron Adams. Welcome to the show, Cameron.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Let us know, well, tell us how much Bournemouth has changed in the last 3-4 years due to these hotels.
Hang
on, we're going to try and get Cameron back. As you can hear, that was a very, very bad line. But he did get in touch with us yesterday, as I say, to say that every word that we said was true, that Bournemouth has changed beyond recognition. It is now full of migrants, gangs of young foreign men hanging around on street corners drinking. Recently, I think it was 7 of them burst into a shop with machetes. Sex crimes, alleged sex crimes are soaring. The whole place has changed because of that. And the poor, long-suffering residents are at the end of their tether. They never get consulted about this. They never voted on this. It's just the government decided, the Home Office decided, oh, let's take 3 tourist hotels in Bournemouth and fill them with asylum seekers. And, you know, no one's saying that all asylum seekers are bad guys, but some of them are, frankly. We know what we're talking about. So there have been alleged rapes, alleged sexual assaults, hideous incidents like the one I just told you about. And that is Bournemouth for you now. Businesses are closing down. Tourists don't go there anymore. Tourism income, which used to be a massive part of the local economy, is dying. It's just dying because of the migrant crisis and because of the way the Home Office handles this. They just impose all of these people on unsuspecting communities. Just talking about Crowborough. Crowborough's army camp was suddenly turned into an accommodation centre for asylum seekers. That's a nice little town in East Sussex. Well, they've just found out that this temporary accommodation centre for asylum seekers, supposed to be for 6 months, 540 of them, by the way, all of them young men, that they're not expecting that to be, those asylum seekers to leave until 2030. So, these towns, they never voted on this. The Home Office doesn't consult them. It really is a disgrace. Let me know what you think. 03444 991,000. Cameron's line was so bad, we're trying to get it back. So with a bit of luck, we will get him back and get his take on what's happening in Bournemouth as soon as possible. In the meantime, let's go to break and see what we can do with that phone line.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. there's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Paul in Leeds has got in touch with me about Kemi Badenoch. He says, "Hi Kev, I'm a fan, but you've misunderstood Kemi Badenoch. She wants Keir to drill, baby drill, to get oil prices down. That's much better than paying for Russia's dirty oil." Yeah, great, but he's not going to do it. Keir Starmer and Ed Miliband are not going to drill, baby drill. I'll tell you, Russian oil, Russian sanctions is a Westminster bubble issue. And if it makes my petrol cheaper and I can still go on holiday on an aeroplane because they've relaxed sanctions on Russia, that's fine by me. You know, all these MPs, all parties who assume that we're prepared for our lives, our cost of living crisis, to be that much worse because we're pouring billions into Ukraine. You know, if they think that we all wholeheartedly support that, I think they've got another thing coming. As I say, I understand the need to support Ukraine geopolitically. You've got to hold Putin off. But that doesn't mean to say I'm going to go, yeah, great, I'll have very expensive... I won't go on holiday, you know, because of Kiev and Zelensky. No, I think I'm probably with Becca, who sent me this text. "I don't care about buying Russian oil. We've given Ukraine billions and they gave us one sodding point in Eurovision." Very good point, Becca. Seriously, folks, let me know what you think. You know, if it means, look, the world, you have to be pragmatic in this world. And if Keir Starmer is relaxing sanctions to make life a little easier for British citizens, he's not admitting he's doing that, then I say good. Good. It'll keep your petrol prices down and you'll be able to go on your Spanish holiday. If he doesn't do this, if he didn't do that, then you won't be going to Spain and you probably won't be able to afford to fill your car up. So what do you want? Do you want your money to go on you, or do you want it all to go to Ukraine? 03444 99 1000. I'm just sick of this assumption by the Westminster Politico bubble gang elite that we're all four square behind just giving billions and billions to Ukraine and allowing our fuel shortage to get worse and worse and worse because we won't loosen up the sanctions on Russia. Well, Starmer has, and I say good. Right. Let's go to my next guest. We're going to talk about digital IDs. Again, this is a Westminster bubble issue. Politicians of all parties seem to believe that we're all very keen on digital IDs. It's just that Keir Starmer sort of did a bad job of promoting it to us when he first announced it. We've got Karen Bradley, who is the chairwoman of the Home Affairs Committee. She's a Tory. She was saying, it was a fiasco, the way Keir Starmer presented this, but it's still got potential. That's a Tory. When are these people going to understand? We do not want digital ID cards ever. No way ever. We don't want a Soviet papers, please type of society. Let's talk to the co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller. Alan, I think you share my frustration. I mean, Dame Karen Bradley is a Tory. a very high Tory, and yet there she is going, well, you know, the only problem with digital IDs is that Keir Starmer's, the way he presented them, the way he promoted the idea was a fiasco, but it's still got great potential. When we don't want these, do we? We don't want digital IDs. What is it about that simple statement that politicians in Westminster don't seem to be able to understand?
I think the problem, Kevin, in Westminster is that politicians are in a bubble and it's sort of self-reinforcing. So on the one hand, they say we want to protect children, and then we'll have a social media ban. That will mean everyone will have to digitally verify to get into the public square. Then they say at the same time, oh, hey, well, it'll be really convenient to make everything efficient because we can't implement a proper infrastructure and make sure there's efficiency and make sure there's economic growth and dynamism and wealth creation for all through our policies. So what we'll do is that we'll pretend that having everyone with digital ID will somehow make everything really efficient and smooth and ignore all the hundreds of millions of data breaches that are happening consistently, that are really impacting the economy, that are really impacting the health sector, that are really dominating much of the tech arena, and that we know that this government is not going to be in a position to defend against. In fact, one login, which has got 8 million directors trying to be forced into at the moment by this government, has already had whistleblowers about it being susceptible to really lots of breaches. So I think they're in a situation where they think the technocratic stream, we're able to do this simple thing, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, everything will be much more efficient because they don't have the ideas and the capabilities and the will and the commitment to actually take on board something like let's look at the what the next 100 years could be like for what was the leading nation in the world in engineering, for instance, right? How could we lead the world in wealth creation, productivity, investment in infrastructure, dynamism, becoming a place where all those things happen, dealing with everything from potholes to borders, health and education. That's a very big set of tasks. So instead, what they're obsessing with is the idea that you can monitor and survey and track and then basically have a situation where the really smart people, or what they think they are, the really smart people, can basically constantly assess and evaluate all of us, the great unwashed. And it really is, in the end, about that, Kevin. And that's why we've got the pledge, at the Together Declaration, we've got a pledge that people around the country are signing and saying they will not, and I will not, upload digital ID of any kind onto my device, a government digital ID, or be engaged with one login or any of that thing.
This is what Dame Karen Bradley said at the Home Affairs Committee. As I say, she's a Tory. She should be against this. She said it's worth bearing in mind that this was a policy direction that was generally well received by the public before they were spooked by the government's poorly thought out and badly explained plans. Where did she get that from?
Well,
that it was generally well received?
Yeah, well, she's got that from some polling, which is always very biased in terms of the questions and the way they're framed, that at some point had some numbers around 53% versus what it went down to at 30%, and then much lower when Keir Starmer announced mandatory digital ID. But you see, what it really demonstrates is, and it illuminates, is that if you ask people or tell them straight what you're planning to do, they'll say no unequivocally. So 3 million people signed a petition, lots of people have campaigned around it across the country. People have said unequivocally no, and they know that this is we've made the point that this is Keir Starmer's albatross, but it's part of Tony Blair's grand plan and vision. And many people in the Labour Party, and of course some Conservatives, as you pointed out, this Home Affairs Committee, and others see it as a potential solution. And they want to now also hitch it onto Keir Starmer and say, just because he was really lacking and incapable and unpopular, but it has merit within it. And I think the thing is, we're making the point that with the Digital Bill of Rights, you've got to have the ability to exist in society without digitally verifying. It's a fundamental principle that we should not have to prove all the time who we are. We don't want to be surveyed and tracked like we had during lockdowns. We don't want to have all the problems that come with that, potentially debanking. And what we end up seeing is similar to things we see in China and India and elsewhere. I mean, they talk about Aadhaar being a good system. There's a whole host of problems with it there. And across the board, not just data breaches, but concerns with privacy. And in the end, this is not what Britain is.
It's just not British. And the Home Affairs Committee report determined, I'm going to use their language here, a lack of consultation and poor communication had, and I quote, raised fears of government overreach. Raised fears. People are furious about this. They don't think it's British. They think it will bring about a kind of Soviet-style papers, please society, and it damn well will, Alan. They can talk about kind of bureaucratic efficiency. But what this is going to end up being is you'll be walking down the street, and if a cop pulls you up, it's show me your ID, your papers, please. That isn't British. That's not what British people want. And your organisation and other protesters have to get it across. I don't know what it is that this political class, what it is about this issue that the political class can't understand. We don't want it. End of.
That's absolutely right. I mean, one of the things is they also say that what they need to engage with the public much more, but their notion of engaging with the public is so limited and so crass. It's like have 100 people on a kind of panel and have a consultation that is so framed in a particular way that it's almost impossible to answer without saying, yes, please give it to us. And so it's very condescending and insulting, although Together Declaration has got lots of people to respond to that consultation, as we do with all things, and write to MPs and tell councillors. And when you say what can people do, Kevin, Together Declaration, we encourage people to make sure that their MPs know that their vote in the general election is going to be on it, that they are, this is like the kind of hill for everyone. Also for local councillors to make sure they all hear about it. That goes back to central office. And like we did in this most recent election, make that part of the upcoming elections and the locals and the by-election that's going to be happening in Makerfield, and consistently be pushing back against it, writing letters, organising locally, get the pledge out, get them in posters, make it really visual that we're just saying this is not acceptable, and we must be able to live in Britain without having to digitally verify. And that's something that we're going to keep fighting for, and they should be very clear about that.
And also, Starmer has made it clear now, originally it was going to be compulsory, but if they do impose this on us, and it was in the King's speech, by the way, they sneaked that in, if it's voluntary, let's all volunteer not to use digital ID cards, see how they get on.
Yeah, well, absolutely. This is the thing. So what ends up happening is it becomes very, very difficult when you've got 8 million directors that are being forced into one login, and accountants are kind of a bit reluctant. They say, well, this is a lot easier and you should really do it like this. And there's a mountain of objections. And then we've got the Children Wellbeing Schools Bill that's giving all children a digital unique identifier. And across the board, on and on it goes. And then an attempt to do it in different parts of working and surveillance.
It's about freedom, it's about liberty. It just isn't
Absolutely.
British, and they can stick their digital ID cards where the sun don't shine. And I think you're going to find that the people are going to back you, Alan, and indeed me. Great to talk to you, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. Alan Miller, their co-founder of the Together Declaration. Where do you stand on digital ID cards? Do you want them or don't you want them? 0344 499 1000. Andy Preston next. Stay tuned for that.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, in about 20-25 minutes, we're going to cover an astonishing story. It's absolutely true, and I can barely believe it's true. The crack coppers down in Kent. They've been on the case, on the trail of a really serious super criminal, baby desperado. Honestly, they have recorded a crime committed by a 1-year-old girl. Apparently, she scratched another 1-year-old kid. And Kent police recorded that as a crime. It was reported to them as a crime. 1 year old. A baby desperado. Altogether, they pursued crimes allegedly committed by more than 650 children, loads of them under the age of 4. What on earth do they think they're playing at? Grow up. Never mind the kids. You lot, grow up. Do your job, get the real bad guys. You really don't need to go around arresting 1-year-old baby girls. You honestly don't. I hope that helps. We'll talk about that in a little while. First up, though, for the next 20 minutes or so, in the studio, former Independent Mayor of Middlesbrough and now political commentator Andy Preston. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Kevin. Hi.
Good to have you in the studio. First of all, let's talk about Rachel Reeves. She has proposed, or she seems to be seeking, a kind of communist-style price caps on basic groceries in the supermarket, eggs, milk, basic foodstuffs. Now, bread, that kind of thing. Now, you know, I'm all for her worrying about, people's finances. Obviously, the cost of living is getting worse and worse. Food prices are soaring. But this is a capitalist country. And it's not surprising that after her proposal, supermarket bosses are furious. We cannot have a government getting involved in this sort of thing because that way madness lies, doesn't it?
You know, Kevin, food in the UK, much as you and I go there and you think, oh, the bread's gone up and the milk's gone up and we get cross, it's actually very affordable, certainly compared to the rest of Europe. When you go on holiday and you see the prices, America and other places, our food is reasonably priced. The reason it's like that is because we've got really competitive supermarkets. Pretty much every town now has got 4 or 5 huge supermarkets. They're all trying to undercut each other, and they work on margins of 2%. You spend £1 there after tax, they make about 2p profit. The margins are tiny, so it's no wonder that they are up in arms. And it's not just the supermarkets that are up in arms by Rachel Reeves's move. There's a think tank, an expert think tank. They're completely politically independent of anyone. It's called the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Yeah. And the big boss of that is Paul Johnson, powerful guy. When he talks, people listen. Yeah. He said, when he heard this plan, I am lost for words. That's what he said. I am lost for words. And basically he said, then he went on to say, I never thought in my lifetime I would see this, because it's the action of somewhere that is becoming a banana republic. It's a desperate move. Now, helping people who are really struggling to put food on the table is a great thing. But use some money and target it at the people who need it. Don't manipulate prices, because that's the road to bigger problems.
Yeah, it seriously is. And in fairness, she's not actually sort of ordering these supermarkets to do this, but she's suggesting that if you bring down the price of eggs, bread, milk, and other groceries to the kind of price that she has in mind, a kind of price cap on them, that in return for that, later in the year, she will ease regulations on supermarkets, make their life...
There's pressure, isn't there?
So she's trying to do a kind of a deal. But, you know, I think this kind of betrays a misunderstanding of economics. You know, if you have to let the economy unfold organically. Now, if you start ordering shops, supermarkets, to sell eggs and milk and bread and other groceries at a certain price, the chances are that might be below their profit line, and they end up sort of making massive losses. You have to, no matter how hard it is, in a proper capitalist country, you have to let the economy unfold organically.
Absolutely. Basically, if you start fiddling with this, what will happen is the supermarkets might well stop selling it.
Yes.
And then what happens? All sorts of...
Or go out of business.
Or go out of business. The law of unintended consequences. What we have to do is let these shops, let our economy work its own way. Have some guardrails to make sure it doesn't go too far one way or the other, but broadly let things carry on. Now, I don't believe for a minute that Rachel Reeves had any intention of doing this. I think it's a sign of desperation. I know that inflation fell slightly yesterday, and that's very welcome, but with oil still very, very high, with the full oil price move not yet priced into all products, I think we can expect to see big inflation down the road. And Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer and Labour, the government, are getting worried about that. So they're trying to tee things up now to look like they're taking action to defend the working family.
Now let's move on to another, if you like, price-fixing situation. Keir Starmer is desperately trying to say, I haven't relaxed sanctions on Russia, but he has. And the idea is that we need fuel, we need oil now because of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, and that we are perilously close to petrol beginning to cost something astronomical. I mean, you think prices have risen a lot over the last couple of months. You wait. It could get serious. I mean, absolutely serious. And also, the airlines are running out of fuel. So Keir Starmer, he wants, to his credit, he wants people to be able to have their Spanish holidays, their Mediterranean breaks. So he wants the airlines to have enough fuel as well. So he's relaxed the sanctions on Russian oil. And I'm with him on this. I mean, he's pretending he hasn't, because in Westminster, the politicos there, Ukraine is like a religion. You know, you have to, fall prostrate on the ground and give them everything you've got. Otherwise, you're some kind of devil. So he's denying that he's relaxing sanctions, but he is, and I think that's a good thing.
You know what? I think most of us support Ukraine and feel that Ukraine was wrong and the Ukrainian people were wrong and their land, their sovereign territory was invaded. I think economic sanctions can play a role in punishing the aggressor. But we've got another dynamic. And that other dynamic is a shortage of oil that's looming large. It's already pushed up prices at the petrol pumps. And by the way, Kevin, the petrol pumps, I think I've said it in here before, are the gallows of governments.
Yeah.
They are the gallows. Other kinds of inflation drive...
Petrol pumps and power cuts.
Absolutely. Other forms of inflation drive consumers mad. But when you go to the petrol pump and it's another £5 to fill up, you feel that. That really stings. And as you said, I think oil currently today is about $110 a barrel for Brent crude. Now, that could be 100 in 3 weeks. It could be 150. If it's at 150, all bets are off. The shortages get worse. And when people can't go on holidays they've booked, you get real unrest. I don't mean riots in the streets, but discontentment, negativity and pessimism becomes much bigger and the whole economy gets infected. So what I'm trying to do is explain that while it was probably a good idea to impose sanctions on Russia at the beginning, I think we're at a point where it's a dangerous game. We need more supply into the market.
Yeah, I mean, pragmatism is called for, and what I think Keir Starmer is doing here, for once in his rotten life, is he's prioritising the welfare of the British people over a kind of political ideology which condemns any softening of the approach to Russia.
And he's taken a lot of flack, Kevin.
Yeah, and and he's denying, but I say for once in his life, okay, half of our energy problem is due to his insane nut zero Secretary Ed Miliband, but that notwithstanding, it is what it is. And I think Keir Starmer has taken a step today that might make life a little easier for us, might make you still be able to go on your Spanish holiday and be able to afford to fill your car up with petrol. So let me know what you think about that. Ukraine or you? 03444 999 1000. Have a look at this. Let's have a bit of a laugh, shall we? This is the MP, the Labour MP for Dover, on the front line of the migrant crisis, Mike Tapp. Quite a comical character, actually. He used to make videos standing on the top of the White Cliffs of Dover with his dog, playing patriotic music, bellowing about what a fantastic job Labour was doing on the migrant crisis. Yeah, Mike, yeah, brilliant. Anyway, here's Mike filming himself again. Have a look at this.
Mike, I haven't got it. Oh, okay. Mike, can you answer any questions? No, because Mike. Hey, Mike, are you going to be running? Are you running for?
I'm running with Scooby. Look, we're focused on delivery. Have you not seen the economy's growing despite international pressures? Inflation's down. In the Home Office, we're focused on creating an immigration system that functions. Deportation and removals are up. The backlog for casework has halved. We're moving people out of hotels. We've got record immigration arrests for illegal working. And because we're a compassionate nation, we're creating safe and legal routes. That's what we're focused on. So I'm going to go and run with Scooby.
He's making a comment there, a little bit of a comment on the world's most famous jogger, Andy Burnham, who spends all his time jogging for the cameras at the moment. But that video he just made and what he just told us, that was actually, you'll be surprised to hear, that was actually filmed on planet Earth. I mean, what on earth is that ridiculous man talking about?
I mean, he reeled off a bunch of stuff there, didn't he? I think
all of it rubbish.
Well, the issue with politics and statistics is that you can always cite stuff that something has gone up the right way, something has moved the right way for you, and that's what's going on now. And there are all kinds of stats being banished. The way I would look at it, I would look at our country and I would say, are we more confident and more optimistic than we were? No, I think we're more pessimistic. I think we're low confidence. I think our government is literally falling apart. I think we're an international laughingstock. And one of the best measures that you cannot ever deny is that unemployment is going up. And what's worse, the number of job vacancies is going down. So unemployment looks set to keep rising. So I feel quite pessimistic, and I get a bit cross when people shout out statistics that are meant to cheer me up. I don't see it.
Well, yeah, I just think Mike Tapp is desperate to get promoted. He's a very ambitious young MP, but he really makes a fool of himself on an almost daily basis. We're not talking super brain there, I'm afraid. Right, let's talk about HS2. This is astonishing, this story. So, Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, has revealed that it turns out that HS2 is unlikely to be ready on its completion date of 2033. It won't be ready. I mean, what they mean by completion, I'm not sure, because they seem to have cancelled all the destinations. What is it now? It just about goes to Birmingham now, doesn't it?
Only Birmingham.
And that's
only
it.
Birmingham.
So only Birmingham. So you can get to Birmingham 10 minutes quicker, but when you come back, you can't get to Euston Station. You have to get out somewhere outside of London. It is a complete white elephant waste of money. But Heidi Alexander saying it will unfortunately end up costing more than £100 billion. That's a very conservative estimate. It's more likely to cost £200 billion, which compares unfavourably. This is a brilliant statistic. So more than £100 billion for our little railway line from London to Birmingham. Meanwhile, over in America, their astronomical budget for their Artemis rockets to the moon, their space program, £79 billion. So they're spending, we're spending officially more than £20 billion more on a little stretch of railway than the Americans are on multiple missions to the moon. This is insane.
Do you think that we should have built a rocket then and maybe put the 7 or 8 worst politicians possible in there?
Well, when you say 7 or 8, I think we need a bigger rocket than that.
Maybe we need a bigger one than that. Yeah. I think it's madness. I'm frequently wrong on stuff, Kevin, but about 13 years ago, I sat in my car and a local radio station up north called me and asked me to talk about HS2. And I said, I only know one thing, is that this will take twice as long as they say and cost 5 times as much. And the costs are spiralling. The last time frame I heard was 2035 to 2039, which means sometime in the 2040s. It's preposterous.
And this is for, let's just reiterate this. This is for a stretch of rail from London to Birmingham. That's about 110 miles or something.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. And I don't know how long the train normally is. Is it like an hour and 20? It's shaving like 10 or 15 minutes off the journey.
Yeah.
It's preposterous. But Kevin, this is not about to me.
I used to joke, I don't want my journey to Birmingham to be faster. I want it to be slower.
This isn't like, to me, this isn't a story about rail. This is a story about our country being completely incapable of doing anything serious. We are absolutely dreadful at building power plants, at organising major things, at making big things happen. It takes forever. In France, for all its faults, they could have done this in probably 10 years from start to finish at a fraction of the cost.
Can I just say something to add to this circle of deranged madness? The HS2 chief executive, the boss of this absolutely absurd, massive, extraordinary waste of money and time, it's a guy called Mark Wilde. He is the highest paid public servant in the country. He gets £665,000 a year. For what? For delivering a complete shambles.
I'm trying to work how much track that would buy, probably about a metre.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, he's presiding over an utter shambles, and he's on, you know, £665,000
Well, somebody was asked, Kevin, how much. Maybe we should just cancel it now. Actually, just say that that's about it. However, what I heard, the reply that came back in the House of Commons was that at this stage it would probably cost more to cancel it and unwind everything than ploughing ahead. So we're in this situation now where it's a white elephant, but so much money's been sunk that you can't get out of it.
And if you're from London, you'll be well aware, all around Euston Station, once quite a nice station in quite a nice area with lots of restaurants around it, is now boarded up, and behind these boards are sort of the remnants of what was going to be HS2, because it's not going that far anymore. They just dug up all the land. They bought a load of houses. Many of the houses around there are very expensive, you know, compulsory purchase, £5 million houses, and nothing got built. You know, it's just this sort of, they've created a wasteland behind great big clapboards across, you know, tens of square miles of central London, because the HS2 isn't going to reach there, and it's going to cost more than the American space program. I mean, let me know what you think about that, folks. I think I'm lost for words, uncharacteristically. 0344 499 1000. Andy, I can't let you go without getting your thoughts. You're a Middlesbrough man. Presumably you're a Middlesbrough fan.
I am, yeah.
You're not playing Southampton anymore.
We're not.
Southampton.
Well, Southampton aren't playing Hull. That's right.
Yeah. Well, so Southampton have been kicked out of the Championship playoff finals, semi-finals. Arguably, had they won, you know, winning that, they say that when you get, I'm a Fulham fan, I've been to a couple of these finals, they are really big events, because the winner of the Championship final playoff effectively is playing for about £200 million. They say it's the most valuable sports fixture in all of sport. Now, Southampton have been caught spying on Middlesbrough.
And other clubs.
And other clubs. They've been kicked out of the playoffs and fined 4 points at the beginning of next season in the Championship. A very, very harsh punishment, but I think you know, the Southampton fans go, oh, it's too much, it's too much. I think you have to send the message, no, we do not tolerate cheating.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, because of course, Kevin, what this guy had done, he'd gone up, because where Middlesbrough train, it's a place called Rockcliffe Hall.
Yeah, you could just walk on, right?
You walk on. It's a big posh hotel and golf complex, and the football team is based there for training. And you can walk around, and frequently do see the players driving in and driving out and warming up and training. And this guy took there, I don't know if you've seen the video footage, but he tried to hide behind a tree, but it was, someone said it was like a polar bear hiding behind a lamppost.
We've got a picture of it somewhere. I don't know if we'll have time to put it up.
And he was caught. But this happens all the time, of course. Legitimately, coaches, scouts and others go to reserve fixtures, main fixtures, and walk around. So there's a lot of sort of legal spying, and this somehow crossed the line.
It did, yeah.
I'm delighted they're banned, because I'm now looking for tickets for me and my family. Will be going on Saturday.
It's a victory for the North, isn't it?
Yeah, victory for the North. But is it harsh? I feel it probably is. I would have fined them 10 points or something like that, or 5 million quid.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you've got to discourage it. You've got to send a message. You do this, we're going to throw the book at you. I mean, I feel sorry for Southampton fans. We've got Mark Littlewood coming on in about an hour, or no, 6 o'clock. excellent, popular Conservative guy, former IEA, and he's a Southampton, Southampton fan.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why I booked him today, can you? Andy Preston, fantastic to have you in the studio, as always. Political commentator, former independent mayor of Middlesbrough. Good luck to Middlesbrough in the playoffs. Next up, we're going to talk about that ridiculous story down in Kent, where Kent cops effectively arrested a 1-year-old baby girl for being violent towards another baby. So this crime was actually recorded, the name of the kid and everything. 1 year old. I mean, have they lost all touch with common sense, these coppers? For God's sake. That next, stay tuned.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK on DAB+.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, former Met Police Detective Mike Neville. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, good evening from sunny Spain.
Oh, yeah, you're always on your travels. You're down in Benidorm, aren't you, you lucky thing?
Yeah.
Well, back here in Britain, we got a story for you, one hell of a story. Not an uplifting story. This is Kent Police. They've recorded a terrifying crime suspect, a 1-year-old girl who was reported to police for inflicting a minor injury on another toddler. This is a baby. They recorded this baby's name and wrote her down as a crime suspect. Now, this shocking fact emerged as a result of a Freedom of Information request to Kent Police, as a response to which they were forced to reveal that from January 2023 to December 2025, so just gone, they investigated these ridiculous rozzers, investigated 683 youngsters under the age of 9. Of these kids, 6 were 2-year-olds, 11 3-year-olds, and 20 4-year-olds. Kent County Council's Cabinet Member for Children's Services conceded that the stats, and this is a quote, are not great They're embarrassing. A crackdown on baby desperados. Haven't these coppers got anything better to do? Well, they have, haven't they? Why don't they go out, instead of arresting babies, how about they go out and arrest some proper criminals, get the bad guys? What on earth do they think they're playing at, Mike?
Well, it's just crazy, isn't it, Kevin? And what's the impact on these children's lives? You know, later on in life, somebody will do this search and they'll their name will come up, and it's just it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's obviously that you know, the kids have been lying in in a place together. One's moved their arm and hurt the other one, and the parents have complained, but there's just literally no common sense. This is the problem today. Everything is computer says no, you know. So this is recorded. It's ridiculous, and every minute that this matter is recorded is time that the police are not out there catching robbers, rapists, you know, robbers and whatever else. It's just utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, and what they will do, if you got in touch with Kent Police and you said, what on earth are you playing at? They'd say, oh, well, it's police regulations, we have to write all this down. No, you don't. Not in a sane world. It's a bloody baby. 1-year-old girl, and you're recording that as a crime. That 1-year-old baby girl was recorded as a crime suspect. I mean, come on. What I mean, who on what planet is that not utterly insane and an egregious waste of police time?
Well, it's on Planet Woke, isn't it, where all these things happen? We're not on Planet Woke, are we, Kev? Me and you are not on that planet.
No.
we don't understand that planet. But what you've got to imagine is the people who write these things down, they think they're doing the right thing, you know, and they write it down. And what happens is it's like checks on people. Rather than checking on Ian Huntley, who murdered 2 girls, they do a DBS check on everybody who's got children, and the children live with them. And so that's it's a safeguarding thing. They think they're doing the right thing. They can justify themselves. And the net result is all this time is wasted, and real criminals get away with it because of nonsense like this.
Yeah, so this Cabinet Member for Children's Services in Kent County Council, a guy called Councillor Paul Webb, he admitted the findings are not great. It's not clear what he meant by that. I hope he meant it's not great that coppers are wasting their time on little children. He might have meant that it's bad news that 683 kids under the age of 9 found themselves as crime suspects. But they shouldn't be crime suspects, should they? Chief Superintendent Rob Marsh, head of Kent Police's Strategic Prevention Command. What the hell is that? What is that? What does that mean?
A lot of old rubbish.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
Well, anyway, the head of Kent Police's Strategic Prevention Command, Rob Marsh, said, we can receive reports of crimes by children from various sources, including from victims, family members or schools of other agents. Hey, Chief Superintendent Rob Marsh, head of Strategic Prevention Command, there is no such thing as a victim of a crime by a 1-year-old baby girl. There is no such thing as a victim of a 1-year-old baby. That's absurd.
Kevin, you can hear him saying it in a Keir Starmer voice, can't you? Yeah. That zippy voice. We have to report every crime. These are the sort of boring individuals which have taken over our nation and will just do whatever the process. Remember, Keir Starmer says all the time, the process. And there's not, when the process is there is no common sense whatsoever. When I was a PC, people would come and report the most stupid things, you know, Martian attacked me with a ray gun. Okay, mate, thanks a lot.
We're on it.
But no, the process says you must. So somebody will spend 2 hours writing that old rubbish down. And do you know what? The other dangerous factor is targets, because somebody will say, look, we had a crime and we had a suspect and we solved it because we know who did that wicked thing. The fact that both people are 1 year old is of no consequence, because on those Home Office statistics, that crime was solved.
Look, here's exactly. Last point on this. As I say, altogether in this 3-year period or so, a 2-year period, 683 kids under the age of 9 were named as crime suspects by Kent Police. Well, shouldn't you? I mean, now and again, you will get a very serious... Yeah, a Jamie Bolger's type incident where a kid of 8 years old or 9 years old does have to be taken very seriously by police. But that's going to happen once in a blue moon. Generally speaking, if somebody comes in and reports a crime by an 8-year-old, wouldn't a sensible copper say, thanks very much, but we've got better things to do than investigate 8-year-olds? And yet they're obviously taking this nonsense seriously. It does make you wonder where the police are heading this, doesn't it?
A sensible officer would, Kevin, but they're driven, as I say, by process. Everything is about the rules and regulations now, the Home Office statistics. It's not about providing a good service and helping people and catching real thieves. That and robbers and rapists and whatever else, that's the issue with the world today.
Tell you what, Mike, after this story, I think you need to go and have a drink in Benidorm. Lucky you. Have a good holiday and we'll talk to you soon, Mike. Thank you very much, mate. Mike Neville, former Met Police detective down there in Spain. Now, let's go to break. When we come back, it's Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. I'm going to ask her about the Mandelson files, which, when released, are certain to be very embarrassing for Keir Starmer. Funnily enough, they were supposed to be released this week. Guess what? It's been delayed. Gee, wonder why. We'll talk about that next and perhaps another couple of political stories with Isabel. After the break, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Good evening.
Now, let's talk about the Mandelson files. This is spit and comma on the entire sordid saga of how Keir Starmer came to appoint Peter Mandelson as our ambassador in Washington and what happened after that. When they're published, which they will be, these files, they're going to be very embarrassing for Keir Starmer. They're going to make him look very stupid in making that appointment in the first place. And frankly, they're going to expose the lies he told afterwards. Funnily enough, they were supposed to be published this week. It's been delayed. Darren Jones, his little bag carrier, what's he called? Chief Secretary to the Treasury or something? Prime Minister's assistant, isn't he? Private Secretary. Anyway, Darren Jones said that they're now going to be released after the recess, so in other words, next month, in order to give MPs sufficient time to review the material. He says this is normal. I think this is a stay of execution, but I think it's very clear that Starmer, with all his problems, didn't fancy the Mandelson files coming out this week because they are going to make him look terrible. This is maybe temporary, but at this moment I call that a cover-up.
So you said, or they say it's normal. I mean, nothing about this is normal. There's absolutely nothing normal about appointing a close friend of a serial paedophile to the most sensitive and important diplomatic position that our country has to offer. There's nothing normal about that. And I suppose the only sort of strange feeling now is that we kind of know that Keir Starmer is a goner. I mean, there is a set of circumstances in which he could survive if Andy Burnham loses Makerfield, and that's a big if. If that happened, it's possible that Keir Starmer fights on and Wes Streeting doesn't manage to oust him and no one else gets the numbers and so on. But the general feeling is that Keir Starmer is finished. And therefore, in a sense, what more could come out that kind of hastens that demise? I mean, clearly there is stuff in there that they really, really, really don't want us to hear about. But I don't know, can it make Keir Starmer's position any worse? I'm not sure.
I've got a feeling that his logic might be that if Andy Burnham wins Makerfield and I think that's a big if, by the way, and then gets down to Westminster, gets his seat in the House of Commons, it's pretty much a done deal. Keir Starmer's finished, and by then he just won't care about the Mandelson files because it's the end of the Keir show anyway.
I think that makes every sense. But we come back to the basic point, which is that it's the end of the Keir show anyway. You're saying, is it just a headache that he just doesn't need right now? Absolutely. I mean, if you can push it back until he's gone off and he's doing whatever it is he's going to do. I've no doubt that he'll get some. I mean, I don't know whether he'll stay on as a backbencher, but I've no doubt he'll get some feeble job on the international stage and he'll be off, and it will just be left dealing with the reputational fallout for the UK of all his disastrous decisions. I mean, many things have gone quiet, haven't they, Kev? When did you last hear about his disastrous Chagos Islands sell-off? That's all gone very quiet too.
Well, it looks like okay, we're going to keep the Chagos Islands with a bit of luck. Let's talk about petrol, fuel. The crisis. I mean, the good news is they're going to freeze the fuel duty at its current rate, I think, until 2020, later in the year anyway. So that's good news. Now, earlier in the day, Chancellor Rachel Reeves tried to film one of these promotional videos outside a petrol station in Leeds. It didn't go entirely according to plan. Watch this.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners, not very British.
Keir Starmer out! Get Labour out! Get Keir Starmer out! Nigel Farage! You are Nigel! Arrested! We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour Party's useless.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners, not very British.
No news about the freezing fuel.
Not very British. Not very British to point out that they don't like Keir Starmer or the Labour government.
What a car crash that was! It actually reminds me of a. I don't know if you remember, many years ago there was a Labour election campaign launch that involved unveiling a billboard, an election campaign billboard, somewhere near Hammersmith, I think. And a car actually crashed in front of the billboard. That is what that really felt like. Car after car coming past and being, well, let's just say a little bit Anglo-Saxon in their language about what they think of Rachel Reeves and her government. Not very British to have bad manners. Well, an awful lot of things this government's are doing is not very British at all, is it?
Absolutely not. Now, let's talk about fuel. Let's talk about the impending fuel shortage and what Keir Starmer has done today. He denies it, but the truth is he has relaxed sanctions on Russia. And I think, no matter what Kemi Badenoch tried to say, I think that was a good thing. I think that's going to keep, hopefully, petrol prices down. And more importantly, perhaps for people hoping to go on holiday, including me, the aeroplanes will have enough fuel to fly people to Spain and Greece and wherever they're going for their vacations. Of course, Labour are denying that they've loosened up the sanctions, but that's not true. They have. Now, Kemi Badenoch said, oh, it's dirty Russian money. You should never have done that. It's disgraceful. Keir Starmer, we haven't done that. No, it isn't. We haven't loosened up sanctions. But he has. And I think, at last, a little bit of sensible pragmatism on his part to help British people, to make our lives a little easier in these very tough times, as opposed to our lives becoming very, very tough because we keep giving billions and billions of pounds to Ukraine. What I'm getting at is the Westminster bubble gang think that every person in Britain is going, I don't care if I can't go on holiday, I don't care if it costs me 500 quid to fill my car up with petrol, as long as Ukraine's all right, I'm happy. That's not true. Keir Starmer did something today that the people of Britain will quite appreciate. And Kemi Badenoch, when she pursued this in Prime Minister's questions today, I think was pursuing a Westminster bubble line of questioning.
Well, it's a really tricky one, this, because
I know it is, isn't it?
My reaction to this was, are you serious? You are the people that have spent the last 10 years since Brexit slating the Brexit campaign leaders and subsequently the Reform Party for their supposed, frankly, completely fictitious, except in the case of Nathan Gill, links to Russia, Russian apologists, all this giant slur that is just constantly brought out. And then when the brutal reality of Starmer's ludicrous ideological obsession with net zero and his energy secretary Ed Miliband's rest of their obsession with net zero, when the brutal reality of that comes home to roost, as we've always said it will, there will be a moment when we're kind of heading towards the lights turning out because we simply don't have enough affordable energy. Well, his principles just kind of disintegrated, didn't they? Yeah. And for me, this is there's a slight kind of sort of bittersweetness about this, because if they really were so dedicated to their anti-Russian position, which I agree with, by the way, I'm no apologist.
No, I get that we have to be tough on Russia, but I think that most people in this country are more interested with their own welfare than they are with Zelensky and the Ukrainians. For
sure they are. But the answer to this is not to go closing oil and gas exploration.
Well, yeah,
in the UK.
I
mean,
of course.
In the short term, by all means, do what it takes. I mean, I'd rather we got our oil and gas from other sources, and probably the Russian appears to be the easiest source right now. But the point is that we've got so much of our own energy, which on a point of principle, we're not actually extracting. It's completely mad.
Yeah, it's a nuanced situation. And I said this earlier. I mean, part of the reason we're in this mess is because of Starmer and Miliband's crazy energy policies. He was droning on about it today. I mean, these people, it was in PMQs, Keir Starmer, the only way for economic security is renewables, more windmills, more solar panels. I mean, stop lying to us. We're not idiots. I mean,
it's complete nonsense. You know, when you've got your own resources, for God's sake, use them. You know what my gas bill is here in the Middle East? It's about £10 a month.
Oh, right. I'm on my way. Is that right? Is that £10?
£10. I get a £10 gas bill a month, and as for electricity, I mean, again, it's negligible. You know, to the point people actually. Here's one that Ed Miliband would just have a kind of heart attack over. People actually have aircon units on their terraces because electricity is so cheap. I'm not, of course, it's not comparable. You know, there's a lot of oil around here that is very easily accessible. But my point is, we're just sacrificing the country on an altar. No country can be prosperous, really prosperous, if it doesn't have affordable, reliable energy. And it is absolutely killing our economy, this.
Just a last point, see what you think about this. Is one of my fantastic audience. This is Becca, who I think makes a very good point. I think she speaks for the common man and woman in Britain. She says, I don't care about buying Russian oil. We've given Ukraine billions and they gave us one sodding point in Eurovision. It's Good point,
Love
isn't
that.
it?
Love that. It's
They
all
could have
down
given
to
us.
Eurovision.
Becca's got a good point. All that we've given Ukraine, and they couldn't even. They gave us 1 point. It was the only point we got, to be fair. But that's all they could manage, you know. So they should be a bit more generous to us in Eurovision, don't you think?
The absolute ingratitude of it, honestly, the ingratitude. But it could have been 0 point, as you said. It could have been.
It could well have been. Isabel, great to have you on the show. Let's talk again very soon. Isabel Oakeshott, our amazing international editor there. Now, next up, Sean Custis, Director of Sport at the Sun newspaper, will be in the studios. Lots to talk about. Arsenal. Yeah, they won the Premier League. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we'll show you lots of pictures of them celebrating. It was a strange way to win the league, really, wasn't it? But you know, Man City didn't manage to beat Bournemouth, therefore they only drew, and therefore Arsenal are now the Premier League champions. Well done, I suppose. We'll talk about that next, and all the other issues affecting football, particularly poor old Southampton, who probably deserved their fate, but my God, have they had the book thrown at them. All of that next. Stay tuned.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Director of Sport at the Sun newspaper, Sean Custis, is in the studio. And Sean, I'm told that some London team might have won the Premier League last night.
Yeah,
fill me in on the details.
Yes, Arsenal after 22 years, Kev, as we all know. Now, I don't think they're too worried about their rivalry with Fulham, really, and whether Fulham fans like it or not.
Nobody is.
I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me who wins the title. I'd love it to be Newcastle, but it probably never will be. And Arsenal, I used to report on them a lot. I've seen them lose a Champions League final. I've seen them win titles. And I've got a lot of mates who are Arsenal fans, and they were very, very happy last night. And a lot of people who work with us. I've got a lot of Spurs fans who work with me as well, who weren't too pleased. But there's quite a few of the Arsenal lads who were out partying last night till... I think they came straight to work this morning.
Did they?
One lad lives in the Emirates Stadium. There's got flats around the Emirates. He's in one of those, and he just walked out his front door and started the party.
That's a serious fan.
We put it up on site.
They have a part. I shouldn't really be talking about Fulham now, but they have apartments in Fulham's new Riverside stand. They're all about £1 million, and all these guys that I sit with in the terraces, that they think I earn about 20 million quid a year. They think I bought one. They said, "You getting one of them flats?" So I said, yeah. I've got. Oh, that's amazing. Can we come up there? Yes, sometime. But anyway.
So why does it bother you that Arsenal won the league? It doesn't really, does it? I mean, do you want the team that had 115 charges pending? Do you want them to win the league?
No, if you press me on it, I'm a Londoner. I'm glad the title has come south, and I do think, although they're a little dull, they're a great side. They're a great side. They're a good side.
I think it's fine. No problems, and they certainly had a party, including the players as well, who some of them were out very, very late, and much to the fans' delight, were turning up to join the party in the streets as well.
Yeah, a quick mention before I switched over to Chelsea Tottenham. We'll talk about that in just a little while. I watched sort of the first bit of Bournemouth Man City, and Krupi scored one of the most perfect goals I've ever seen in my life. Did you see it? It was an amazing goal.
Well done. Bournemouth, a bit gutting for Bournemouth to only draw, by the way. Nobody cares about that, but that's affected their Champions League chances a bit.
Yeah, it has.
So a bit crushing for them, but no, that was sort of an afterthought. It was a remarkable night last night. So many things were going on, of course. Tottenham are still in the mix for relegation because they lost to Chelsea.
As I understand it, the situation now is they would have been distraught last night. I don't think they put on a particularly good performance. Don't see why they can't raise their game given their circumstances, but they don't seem to be able to. But as I understand it, they could lose. They could lose and still stay up.
They could.
West Ham have got to.
West Ham have got to win because of the goal difference thing. West Ham have got to win.
And if they get the same number of points, they've got to win. West Ham have got to win 14-0.
The goal difference is too much. So it's Spurs, Everton, and West Ham Leeds on the last day of the season. We'd be keeping a very keen eye on that. I still think the favourites go down to West Ham, but Spurs haven't done themselves any favours. There, have they?
Any thoughts or any comments about Spurs last night? Because, as I say, they didn't seem. I mean, you think they're not a bad side.
I must admit, they're not bad. I thought they'd do better. Chelsea seemed to raise themselves a little bit last night, so maybe they're doing auditions for the new manager, as I suggested last night, for Xabi Alonso, even though he doesn't take over till July.
Was he watching at all, do you think?
I don't know. Probably. I would think he would like to run the rule over them. We were actually out at the Football Writers' dinner last night as well. Later on, where Bruno Fernandes got his award as Player of the Year, and there were some Arsenal staff at this dinner as well.
Say,
so there was a little bit of a party.
They must have had a great night. Yeah,
a bit of a party going on.
And then some booze was running dry.
And then some people shot off from this Football Writers event to go and join the celebrations out in the streets where. Whether you're in Islington or whether you're going right down to the ground or the players being at the training ground.
I remember all those years ago because I used to live in Islington when Arsenal won the Invincibles won the double.
Yeah.
And the whole area was amazing.
I remember when they won it in '89. I lived in Manor House, which was quite near, and going down to watch the celebrations there. They do a pretty good party in the streets. I think they do enjoy it. So.
22 years, but they deserved it. I think.
And they've still got the Champions League to go.
Right. Well, of course they have. Let's talk about Villa. We've just been looking at footage of their fans over there in Istanbul.
But yes, Villa v Freiburg tonight. Villa, you would say, are the favourites to win that. We've got a couple of members of staff who've gone there as well. It's quite a week.
Great time of season there. So Bournemouth and Brighton need Villa to win the Europa League to have a chance of qualifying for the
give an extra place in the Champions League.
Of course.
And Prince William will be popping along, of course, because it's his team.
Yeah. Was it you telling me that when you guys interview him once?
I did, yeah.
And he's a real super fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely he is. He knows his stuff, and he You might
You can
accuse him of
tell,
only
actually.
turning up to the big games, but you can tell somebody who doesn't know football within a minute.
Yeah, you're right.
You
You're
can
right.
tell, and he does.
Do you remember
He-
David Cameron, he purported to be a Villa fan, and he confused them with West
Yes,
Ham?
he confused that. I remember Tony Blair saying how he used to sit in the Leazes end at Newcastle United, which he couldn't possibly have done or the Gallagher end, because it was standing at that point. I know. All politicians, I think, use football to get themselves on
But
side
with
and
Prince
get
William,
caught out.
but
But
with
he
Prince
is a
William,
proper.
yeah.
In fact, I had half an hour with him, Kevin. It was really interesting. I mean, he really did know his stuff,
Nice
tactically
guy,
and everything.
nice guy.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
He was.
Good. Right, let's talk about Southampton
Yeah.
Spygate. What's your take on it? I mean, it's a very, very severe punishment.
It is.
But I think, don't you think it's right that the message is sent, if you cheat, we'll throw the book
Well,
at you?
Southampton actually accept that they cheated. They've issued an apology today saying that they did do it, but they say it's a manifestly disproportionate punishment and list a whole load of other punishments that have gone to teams in the past. But the fact is, there were rules saying you can't do it. It wasn't specified if you did it in the playoffs what would happen. There is an appeal tonight. So it's happening tonight, this appeal.
Well, what do you think is going to happen?
I think it'll be upheld. Southampton are confident that it'll get reversed, and it means that still nobody knows quite what's going on with the playoff on Saturday. I think that the manager will have to leave, whatever happens, even if this is overturned.
Do all clubs do this, though? Secretly.
Well, we did an article yesterday saying they all do it in Germany. Every club has a spy and just has to work out how to do it. And other clubs know that they're spying.
They have an
they just have
official
to try
job,
official
club spy.
I don't think it's the biggest thing in the world, but they did break the rules and they knew what the rules were. And Middlesbrough have made such a brilliant song and dance about it, and quite rightly, they know they've got right on their side.
Yeah.
And by saying this has unearthed our tactics for the game and all that, you can't argue with that. If somebody's taken a mobile phone picture, how can you say it hasn't undermined what they were trying to do?
And that Southampton guy standing in the bushes with his
by a tree.
The world's worst spy ever.
Undercover elephant. Yeah, if you ever watched that cartoon where an elephant puts sunglasses on, they don't know who he is. Then he takes his glasses off and they go.
It's like.
That's what it's exactly what it's like. But I think the case against Southampton will be upheld. But there's going to be the fallout from that's going to be enormous. But their fans have turned against them as well. Their own fans. They're furious.
They're angry that they did it, not over the punishment.
The players are angry with their manager for it happening because it's cost all them, hasn't it? Huge bonuses for winning promotion for those players, chance to play in the Premier League, gone.
God.
I mean, for them it's devastating as well, and for fans, and for the town, and everything. And Southampton, as I've said before, seen as, one of the nice clubs of Britain, and here they are, skullduggery personified.
Yeah, I mean, so what is that? So what? Run down what is now going to happen with Middlesbrough
There's an appeal tonight. If it gets overturned, then who knows where we are. The EFL actually have the right to appeal against that decision themselves, so that could go into another 2 days.
Do Hull know where they are?
Well, Hull know they're playing in the playoffs. They don't necessarily know who it's against, and even whether it will be on Saturday. Interesting, if it is Hull v Middlesbrough, there'll be a lot of fans on the train coming south all together from both sides, which will be quite fun, I'm sure. But I don't think Southampton have a leg to stand on, really. They've been caught. They've admitted they're being caught. But their argument about this is disproportionate is what they're trying to win the appeal on.
If they won the Championship playoff final, I mean, effectively, arguably, they could have been fined £200 million because it's the most valuable sporting fixture in all of sport. But there you are, interesting times. What a fantastic end of the season. It isn't over yet, folks. All of this in the back pages of your favourite newspaper, The Sun, tomorrow. Big thanks to the Director of Sport there, Sean Custis. Next up, it's Southampton fan Mark Littlewood. You don't want to miss that.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In about 20 minutes, we're going to talk about Meghan Markle. She has posted on Instagram previously unseen photographs, a massive sort of photo album of private shots from the wedding of Meghan and Harry back in 2018. It is their 8th wedding anniversary today. And so there's all these pictures of that fabulous day. Elton John playing the piano, the hired musical hand. A little bit of a picture of the back of the King's head because he walked her down the aisle, didn't he? But apart from that, no members of the royal family whatsoever. They're all cutouts, censored by Meghan, whose hatred of the British royals clearly continues apace. We'll talk about that weirdness next. But first, let's go over to my next guest. He's the Director of Popular Conservatism, Mark Littlewood. Hello, Mark.
Evening, Kev. Good to be with you.
Good to have you on the show. I am going to have to discuss Southampton with you a little later. Commiserations. I mean, jokes aside, I think it's a very serious story, so we will talk about that a little later. But first up, today, quite good news, I suppose, within the confines of the expectations of this dreadful government. But the fuel duty increase has been postponed, so we're going to stick with the same fuel duty until the end of the year. That's good. And whatever he says, he's pretended he hasn't, but Keir Starmer has loosened sanctions on Russian oil. Therefore, the effects of the incoming fuel crisis, fuel shortage, might not be quite so severe for British people who want to fill up their cars for less than 500 quid and might want to get on an aeroplane to go to Spain on holiday. So quite reasonably good news by Labour government standards today. Rachel Reeves, of course, sought to cash in on this by going to a petrol station to film one of those videos, aren't I wonderful? I've frozen fuel duty, and it's, you know, we've taken steps to avert the awfulness of the fuel shortage around the world, blah, blah, blah. Have a look at what happened.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners, not very British.
Get Labour out. Get Keir Starmer out. Nigel Farage. You are Nigel. We're going to get arrested. We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour Party's useless.
I love our country, and one of the things about our country is good manners, not very British.
No news about the freezing fuel.
Well, that didn't go according to plan, did it? The great British public making their feelings about this Labour government plain to Rachel Reeves. She deserves it. This government deserve it, because those sort of marginally good news items that I was just reeling off, you know, Keir Starmer only has to loosen sanctions on Russian oil and you know, to keep this fuel duty increase at bay for the rest of the year because of Labour's abysmal energy policies. Starmer and Ed Miliband plunging us into a serious mess. We've got plenty of our own energy supplies, but he has had to loosen sanctions on Russia. I mean, good for the people of this country in the short term, but in the long term, just a mess.
Yeah, Kevin, you're far too easily pleased. I mean, you're clearly much more sanguine than those guys in the forecourt with Rachel Reeves. I mean, I think it's only a cause for very modest celebration that taxes aren't going up even higher, right? This is not a fuel duty cut. This is simply not a fuel duty rise. And as you say, you know, our response to, oh my God, we need some oil, is not to drill for it ourselves in our own shores, but to ban that because it's bad for the environment, decide we'll buy it all from Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's a pretty messed up state of affairs, I would suggest. So I've got some sympathy, bad manners or not, with those guys heckling Rachel Reeves on the station forecourt.
Yeah, I mean, let's unpick that again, as you say. Basically, we could help ourselves out in this, in the face of this impending massive global fuel shortage because of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz by, you know, exploiting our own energy fields in the North Sea. But we don't do that for environmental reasons. And because Ed Miliband won't have that, crazy Ed, the Nut Zero secretary, Keir Starmer has to relax sanctions on Russia. I mean, you know, it's just waves of madness, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the whole drive for carbon net zero is indeed madness, Kev, but it would at least be consistent if we weren't just exporting our carbon footprint. You know, there's no point in us showing the self-denying ordinance not to drill ourselves if we're just buying in from other countries. It's, you know, you might be able to preen yourself and say, well, the actual carbon footprint being issued by the United Kingdom on our actual territory has fallen, but if you're buying it all in from Russia or Norway or anywhere else, what's the point? You're contributing to carbon emissions just elsewhere in the world. So the policy makes no sense even within its own terms. It's utterly ludicrous. We should definitely be drilling for energy under the North Sea, but that has been now completely blocked. Mad, insane policy, and one of many, which I'm afraid means that the economy is crawling along the floor.
As an economist, Mark, talk me through this. Supermarket chiefs are furious with the government because Rachel Reeves is seeking a communist-style price cap on milk, eggs, bread, basic groceries at supermarkets. Now, supermarkets are saying, well, look, this is a capitalist country. You have to let the economy unfold organically. If you come in saying, well, you can't charge more than this for eggs or whatever, first of all, that will mean supermarkets potentially, shops potentially trade at a loss, which they shouldn't have to do. And secondly, they might even have to close down if you carry on like that. I mean, this is communist claptrap, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it blows the mind, you know, what's the great idea to combat the cost of living crisis? Oh, let's bring in Soviet-style supermarkets. I mean, you know, how do we think that's going to work? And let me just explain why it wouldn't work, because I can understand instinctively people might think, well, it would be kind of handy if a loaf of bread, a pint of milk, you know, 6 eggs cost a bit less at the supermarket. But if you fix the prices, you likely get shortages because they'll fly off the shelves if you're selling them below market rate. And there is a big disincentive for supermarkets to stock those items. If you can't turn a bit of profit on selling milk and selling eggs and selling bread, well, you're not very inclined to do so. These are businesses, not charities. The supermarket sector has been a roaring success story over the past 20 years. It is wholly competitive. The Competition and Markets Authority looked into it in 2023, found it was really competitive. So they're all forcing the prices down because they're all competing against each other. If you want to help the prices that we face when we go to our local shop, you're far better to tackle it at the other end of the telescope to make sure that, you know, energy is cheaper, for example, or regulations imposed on businesses are less. And the suggestion here, Kev, was that, if you like, the quid pro quo would be if Tesco and Asda and Waitrose agreed to fix the price of bread, eggs and milk, a bit like in the old Soviet Union, then Rachel Reeves would relax some regulations that affect
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But why not just relax the regulations anyway? That would actually allow prices to fall. We are burdening businesses with costs and red tape, and that is passed on to the bill that you pay, whether that's in a supermarket or anywhere else. So this is crazy. I haven't seen a single economist or businessman that thinks there's any merit in this idea at all, and I'm glad that it is apparently being shelved. But I am terrified that there apparently seems to be this sort of thinking in the Treasury and in number 11 Downing Street. It's mad.
Yeah, I like the comment from Paul Johnson, the boss over at the Fiscal Studies Institute. He was asked about it. His response was, "I am lost for words."
Yeah, and you know, he's hardly a kind of ideologue, right? He's a very middle of the road bloke, and even he is just saying this is just completely crazy. I mean, thank God it doesn't look like it's going to come in. It would be a total disaster. But as I say, if this is an insight into the thought processes of Rachel Reeves and her advisors, God help us, because some other mad idea will come along any minute.
Yeah, you know what's the backdrop to this is that Rachel Reeves, like most Labour politicians, believe that all businesses are profiteering. They believe the supermarkets are profiteering, and therefore they must stop this relentless, conning of the people who shop there. Well, that's not the case, as you indicated earlier, Mark, because of the fierce competition between all the supermarkets. They all trade on a really tight profit margin, really tight. They are the opposite of profiteering. They're hardly making any money, and any restriction on the prices they charge will plunge them into the red.
Yeah, or Kev, they just decide that they're not going to sell these products anymore. That you could go to the supermarket and buy yourself a bottle of wine, but you couldn't go to the supermarket and buy yourself a staple product like a loaf of bread. That's the issue. They'll certainly be disincentivized, right? They're not going to make sure that the shelves are full of products that they're being forced to make a loss on. They might have to comply with the law somehow or other, so there's one slightly mouldy loaf of bread left on the side somewhere for 10 pence. But that's what happens. And, we had an historical experiment of this in the Soviet Union, a total disaster. You will get shortages, you remove incentives, and as you rightly say, if you wanted a model of a competitive market that has improved quality and kept prices down, that model is probably the supermarket sector in the United Kingdom. It has been a triumph of free market competition, and the idea that you would try and unstitch that is absolutely for the birds. Crazy talk.
Well, if there's one thing Labour politicians hate, it's free competition, free market competition. They can't stand that. But let's move on to more economic madness. Get your take on HS2. The Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, today announcing, to no one's great surprise, that it's unlikely to make its 2033 deadline, won't be ready by then. Now, in the mists of history, I seem to recall that this great rail project was supposed to put a great big Y down the backbone of Britain, from London to Birmingham, off to Leeds, and then Manchester. You'd be able to get to Manchester in about 20 minutes, massively fast trains, and it'll take us about 2 years and probably cost about 5 million quid. I exaggerate, of course. Now it's reduced to basically a few miles between London and Birmingham. And it will cost, this is a conservative estimate, for a few miles of track between London and Birmingham, we're talking about 90 miles, it will cost more than £100 billion. That's a conservative estimate. I reckon it will be more than £150 billion. To put that into context, Mark, this is an hilarious statistic. We're spending £100 billion, more than that, on a little stretch of railway from London to Birmingham. Meanwhile, over in America, for their Artemis moon rocket project, sending rockets to the moon, their budget for that is £79 million. It's £20 billion less than we're shelling out for a bit of railway. It's pathetic, it's mad, it's insane.
Yeah, so the Americans are spending $100 billion going to the moon, and we're spending £100 billion going to Birmingham. I mean, this is absolutely insane. I mean, there is no rate of return or value on this project whatsoever. It has been confused from the start. Was it really about speed, or was it about capacity? You're right that the objective, which we were never going to get to, was it would then link up, I think, Leeds and Manchester and all that sort of stuff. But the London to Birmingham route of itself is a pretty good train route. It is fast and basically fairly reliable.
About an hour and 10 minutes, I seem to remember. And HS2 offered you an hour and... Never mind an hour and 10 minutes. We'll be able to get you there in an hour and 2 minutes. Big deal.
Exactly. So the savings are absolutely hopeless. I mean, I always thought it was evident from the outset that this project would fail because there was no private sector investment coming forward whatsoever, I think I'm right in saying, not a pound. let alone £100 billion. And it's not always as black and white as that, but it's a pretty good signal that if nobody wants to put their private money into the project, and this was way back when I think the original budget was like 30 billion or so. I mean, we've blown that to pieces. But nobody wanted to privately invest in it. And that is usually a good sign that the project is a waste of money and a waste of time. And my God, hasn't it been? And when's it due to open now? Like
well, it was supposed to be, she's warning us. I mean, they keep changing the goalposts, but she's warning us that the 2033 deadline is now unlikely to be met. So God knows when they're going to finish this tiny stretch of railway between London and Birmingham. Can you explain, Mark, while you're on, the chief executive of this shambles, this utter shambles, is a guy called Mark Wilde, and he's the highest paid public payroll servant in the nation, in the country. He earns £675,000 a year. How does that work?
Yeah, it is outrageous, and it's not just the cost of the project, it's that the project is massively overrun, it's not going to deliver even the modest things that were claimed for it. We are appalling in this country at accountability and oversight of all of these sort of projects. When they go wrong, heads should roll. But we actually just allow the money to keep rolling into their back pockets. How this guy's still in a job is beyond me. If he thought that the project was impossible to complete on time and budget, he should have said so. But this is, I'm afraid, a long tail, not just of HS2, of how we approach big infrastructure stuff. We never come in on budget. We never come in on time. We never get the rates of return promised. I mean, even that was, if you go back to the London Olympics, even that was true, didn't yield the rates of return we were asked for. And however, those working on it never face the penalty. That has got to change. You have got to be accountable if things go wrong.
Absolutely.
And at the moment, we do not have that on big government spending projects. No heads have rolled. That's a disgrace.
Let me just roll that one out to the audience. Folks, can you explain why the man in charge of the shambles, the ludicrously expensive shambles that is HS2, why is he on £675,000 a year? Why is he the highest paid person on the public payroll? Why? 03444991000. Sorry, Mark, we've reached that moment. We have to talk about Southampton. What is your feeling about it? I mean, it is a very severe punishment. I'm just looking at the picture of that absurd spy behind a tree with his little camera. Southampton apparently did this to several clubs. I think it's something that probably goes on quite a lot. The real crime here is probably getting caught, but they did get caught at Middlesbrough's training ground. It is undoubtedly cheating, and cheating should be severely punished. But the punishment is, first of all, you're kicked out of the Championship playoffs, so your chance of making the Premiership and earning an extra £200 million, that's gone, and you're going to be docked 4 points when you start in the Championship next season. Do you think, I mean, try to be objective about this, you're obviously very upset, you're a lifelong big Southampton fan, but do you think that is an over-the-top punishment?
Yes, I do. I mean, it's been ghastly. This has potentially been the worst day in Southampton's 141-year histrry. And my God, there's quite a lot of competition for being the worst day in Southampton's.
It's okay, I understand, mate. I'm a Fulham fan.
And Southampton have cheated. And, that makes me feel terrible about our club. We didn't typically have that kind of reputation at all. We've been,
nice club.
Nice club. So that makes me sick to the stomach. To be kicked out of a competition for an infraction, a rule breach for cheating, rather than something that's happened on the field of play is sickening as well. And I'll try to be objective, but my case is this, Kev. I think that the punishment is disproportionate to the crime. It is cheating. And some people, particularly those who are sort of winding me up on social media, are saying, you cheated, you should be kicked out. Well, if we're going to apply that rule across the board of football, an awful lot of teams are going to be expelled from an awful lot of competitions, right? I mean, how should we treat on-field cheating, like diving for a penalty and getting it in the Championship where there's no VAR and that meaningfully affecting a match? Now, that's an on-field thing, but what, do you get your 3 points docked, or do you get, 4 points knocked off the next season, supposing you dive 3 times? And the key thing about this rule, it's I think almost completely unique to the English Football League. You're allowed to spy in the Premier League, and you're allowed to spy in other foreign leagues, and even in the EFL, you're allowed to spy up to 73 hours before kickoff, right? Just not 72 hours or fewer before kickoff. So it's hardly framed, you would say, in the sport of association football as the most egregious crime that you could commit. They have broken the rules, they have cheated, but it doesn't seem to me, I mean, it seems to me the punishment is a bit like giving a shoplifter a sentence of death, right, or life imprisonment for shoplifting.
Yeah,
because as you
mean,
rightly say, there was no guarantee we would beat Hull City. I think would have been the marginal favourites, but that's 200 million off the table, and a 4-point penalty next season, which would make promotion extremely difficult. And the players now potentially suing the club because they've lost
their bonuses. Yeah,
those players who formed a fantastic run, 21 league games unbeaten, I think most of those will go. So the question really is, I would ask as a neutral fan, do you think that is fair punishment for sending a 21-year-old intern to hang around by a tree and observe Middlesbrough's training? It seems to me disproportionate. There should be a punishment. I think it should be a heavy financial punishment, possibly a points penalty next season. But to remove Southampton from the playoff final just seems to me overkill. But I feel embarrassed about the behaviour of the club. It's shocking. I never thought Saints would cheat in this fashion. They should be punished. But my God, this is potentially the biggest punishment ever issued to any football club in English football history. And that does seem to me not really to fit the scale of the crime.
Well, there is an appeal tonight, but the word is that the punishment will be upheld. Very sorry, seriously, Mark. And
it's a shame.
Let's see what happens tonight. But bad news for Southampton, and thank you for being objective about that. And thank you for coming on, as always. It's always good to have you on the show, Mark. Mark Littlewood there, Director of Popular Conservatism and lifelong serious season ticket holder, fan of Southampton. Southampton fans today are in mourning. There's an appeal against that decision tonight, but it is unlikely to be overturned. Next up, we're going to talk to royal biographer Angela Levin, because Meghan has been behaving in her time-honoured extraordinary way. Extraordinary behaviour the last couple of days. So we'll talk to Angela about that in just a minute. Stay where you are.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile,
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to royal biographer Angela Levin. Hi, Angela.
Hello.
Well, she's really been and gone and done it now. I thought this huge photo album selection of their wedding day 8 years ago, it's their 8th wedding anniversary today, posted by Meghan on Instagram. I thought it was extraordinary. I mean, there's this sort of copious selection of, you know, very compelling photographs of that wedding, never seen before. You know, we learned, you know, there's old Elton John, the hired musical hand, tink-tonking as the congregation dance. We see, I'm not sure I particularly want to see Meghan and Harry suction kissing, but we got to see it, lots of them dancing. One tiny picture of the back of the King's head, because of course the King walked Meghan down the aisle in the absence of her own father, or indeed the absence of her entire family except for her mother, because she's estranged from them. Little picture of the King, and no pictures of any other members of the British royal family. Every single one of them censored out by this woman. I mean, that is a flat-out statement. Never mind, you know, implying. That is a flat-out statement that this woman, Meghan Markle, absolutely hates the British royal family. Simple as that.
I agree with you completely. In fact, I think she's done it obviously deliberately to make them unhappy. You know, this is quite a difficult time because Harry wants to go back to the UK. She doesn't want to. So she's trying to do things as nasty as possible so that they won't let her come in or do things. And I'd be delighted if she doesn't. I mean, it is absolutely revolting. She was trying to make the most horrible sight you could see for it. You know, to be at the royal family, the British royal family, and to show all this is just beyond disgusting. It's just awful. Who was there? Lots of people were there, but they were only wanted to do it in a very vulgar way for everyone to see. It made me feel sick, honestly. I don't care what she does at home. I don't care what she feels about anything in her sexual life. But I think that you actually do behave when you're with such important people. She also said she'd had, you know, 7 terrible, horrible years. She didn't look as if she was doing a terrible, horrible year then. And now she's having it's the 8th year of her wedding, and now she's feeling it's wonderful and all that. The picture there is then of pink penguin.
Yeah.
That's what they had because penguins never let
they mate for life, don't they? Yeah, that's the idea.
But she's not mating for him. She's horrible to her husband. You have to think about that. She might be kissing him in all sorts of ways that make you feel quite ill.
Yeah.
But you don't actually. She's not looking after him, is she? She's turned him into a very sort of sad man who follows what she does.
He's just a pawn in her game. But as I say, to post all of these pictures from that very special day, it was a fantastic day that promised so much. The whole nation, the whole world was absolutely uplifted by this amazing occasion. You'll remember how fantastic the weather was. Even the sun came out to play, as it were, on that day.
I was the commentator, one of the commentators, so I know all about it. But she now, as soon as it was finished, she said that she didn't want that sort of wedding. It was a horrible wedding. It was just too much. It wasn't very nice. She wanted to have a tiny little wedding so it would really be sincere. So she could spoil it, but something cost £33 million, and she chucked it out of her mind.
And but what I think she's laid bare now is that it looks to me like the driving force in her life is jealousy of particularly the Princess of Wales, Catherine and William, and a sort of hatred of all of her husband's family, her in-laws. She despises them, and to cut them out, every single one of them, plus, as you say, the other VIP guests there, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? Extraordinary thing to do.
Yes, but she doesn't let her own family in, don't forget. She only had her mother.
Yeah.
She likes to kill, she likes to destroy. That's what she's doing. And what annoyed me to the same time that this was going ahead was little Lilliput. And I couldn't bear that either, because she wanted to show off. Just before we saw the pictures, she wanted to show off, Mummy is so lovely. And this little kid was sitting down with something wrong with her foot, but I couldn't judge what it was. And she had to watch her mother. As we know, she is not allowed to turn around so that we see her. So she was just there with her mother sort of standing there, look at me, I'm just so wonderful. And you want to be sick.
Yeah, you really do. And before she posted all these pictures, she flew suddenly to Switzerland to make a speech about online harm. It's their big hobby horse, her and Harry. I'm not sure what they've actually ever practically done to help children, the victims of online harm. They made a few speeches, a few photo ops, but in terms of actually practically doing anything, I don't think either of them done anything. Anyway, she flies to Switzerland to make this speech, and before that, she said, online harm, children online, it's so bad. Before that, there she is in her expensive wardrobe full of all her designer clothes with Lilibet kneeling down before her, and she posts that on Instagram. So she puts her own kid online before flying to Switzerland to talk about the evils of online harm to children. The Daily Mail's headline on it, quite accurately I would suggest, was breathtaking hypocrisy.
Yes. Well, we've seen everything they try to do is hypocritical. And this one was awful because it's a small child. She's 4 years old. It must be very difficult for her. You never see her going out with friends. You never see her actually having fun. She's got to follow everything, and it's got to make sure that mummy's okay. You know, I mean, it's not a way to bring up children, and not to let them meet their own families apart from one grandma. And so that doesn't make any sense. They're just terrible liars. But what did make me laugh, and I was quite pleased, there was almost no one there.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. She made this speech outside. There was no one there, and somebody said, no, there's a little crowd over to the left of us. It was a bunch of people waiting in a bus stop. It's true. It's true. She made that speech to an abyss of nobody. You're absolutely right. And of course, that was a tit-for-tat publicity event for her, because she was responding to Princess Catherine's amazingly successful, triumphant trip to Italy. So that really made Meghan jealous.
She had more than 3,000 to 4,000 people, Catherine did.
Meghan had a bus queue. We'll leave that one hanging there. Angela, it's always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Angela Levin there, royal biographer, on what might be regarded as Meghan's lowest moment. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. We're going to break now, and we think earlier in the show, if you've been watching all the way through, we tried to talk to Bournemouth councillor Cameron Adams. He had a very bad line about Bournemouth's predicament with an asylum seeker crime crisis, sex crime crisis. We think he's got a better line now, so hopefully we'll talk to Cameron after these messages. Stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just to recap, yesterday I did a story about poor Bournemouth, where 0.6% of the population are migrants, but according to statistics from last August, that 0.6% of migrants were responsible for 40% of the pending sex crime prosecutions in poor Bournemouth. Bournemouth has changed beyond recognition ever since the Home Office imposed on the people there 3 massive asylum seeker hotels. Let's talk to a man. He responded. He saw my report and said, "You're absolutely right." Well, let's find out in person what he thinks. Councillor Cameron Adams, Reform UK councillor down in Bournemouth. Welcome, Cameron.
Hi, Kevin. I hope you can hear me better this time.
That's much better. That's much better. Now, you heard me recap there. Tell me, ever since you've had these 3 migrant hotels with hundreds and hundreds of young male foreigners, asylum seekers, billeted, foisted upon you, tell us, what's that been, 3 years, something like that? How has that changed Bournemouth?
Well, yeah, it's been around 3 years. And I mean, you speak to almost anyone now and they're afraid to go into the town centre. I mean, I'm quite young and I can look after myself, but I can count on one hand the number of times I've been there outside of absolute necessity. I've got friends who've been sexually harassed, even assaulted, and not gone to the police because they didn't want to cause a fuss. It's just absolutely heartbreaking to see the town that I grew up in just go into the gutter, really. And it's not the only reason, but it's a massive part of it. But I know some residents in neighbouring blocks that have spent a fortune on flats to try and retire in our lovely town, and yet they're afraid to go outside even during the day. This is a problem.
Yeah, and as I said, the shock statistic that I keep quoting, this is from last August, it's shocking enough to say that of the whole population of Bournemouth, 0.6% of the population of Bournemouth are now migrants. In itself, quite shocking if you think about it, but of those migrants, for 0.6% of the population of migrants, but migrants were responsible for 40% of pending prosecutions in alleged sex crime cases. Now, that is a statistic, a disproportion that is sinister and alarming, is it not?
For sure. And it's disgusting that the women and girls of Bournemouth have been thrown on this altar of sort of diversity, because they're the ones that are getting sacrificed and they're the victims in this. Every time one of these crimes happens, there's a poor girl at the end of it that has to live with these for the rest of her life. I mean, and Dorset Police have spent a lot of time trying to countenance statistics with other statistics. But the fact is, in the 3 years to 2025, these 3 hotels had 148 offences for a variety of things. So it's not just the sexual crime epidemic. There's reports of drug dealing. We've had knife crime, and it's making our town an unsafe place to live. And 20 years ago, you wouldn't have thought of Bournemouth as being a crime-riddled.
Well, it was the most genteel, if you like, upscale seaside resort in all of Britain. Well-to-do people used to go to Bournemouth to retire because it was such a calm, peaceful, serene and lovely place. Now, as I understand it, you got hordes of young migrants hanging around on street corners drinking. Not so long ago, there was a gang of 7 machete-wielding maniacs who burst into a shop, and we reported yesterday on a case that's only just finished of a Syrian migrant who took a 19-year-old local girl into a portaloo, or forced her into a portaloo by the beach, locked the door and raped her. He's awaiting sentence. More and more of this. This has had a catastrophic effect on the town's main source of income, tourism. I gather shops are boarded up. The whole nature, the whole tone of Bournemouth has been ruined.
Yeah, the character of Bournemouth and it pains me to say it because it's my hometown, has gone to hell in a handcart. I mean, these hotels, one of them's across the road from a college, and they had a small knife warfare kerfuffle break out, is probably what they would like to call it. And that's round the corner from a local school. I mean, I don't know who to blame more the politicians that have enabled it or the Home Office officials that have put these things there, but they're responsible for destroying our town, and I'm sick of it.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Cameron. Did the good people of Bournemouth, did they vote for this? Did they vote? Were they asked? Would you like the best part of 1,000 young male migrants with nothing to do, who can barely speak English, living among you? Were you ever asked?
Well, no, and I think at every opportunity, the good people of Bournemouth have voted against more and more migration, and every opportunity they've been absolutely ignored. There was no consultation, even as a local authority, not that I'm sure the Lib Dem administration would have opposed them, but even as a local authority, you're not consulted. You're told they're going here like it or lump it. And if a few people get stabbed and some other horrible offences happen, then so be it. It's shameful.
It really, really is, Cameron. Well, listen, Cameron, thanks. I'm glad we got you in the end. Very sorry about Bournemouth and what's happening to it, but let's keep in touch. Let's monitor this and try and alert the authorities to what's happening there, because this is not right. You good people of Bournemouth should not have to live like this. This is wrong. Cameron, great to talk to you. Come on again soon. That's Councillor Cameron Adams, Bournemouth Councillor, Reform UK for the Kinson ward. Now, we did reach out. We did ask the Home Office and Bournemouth Council and the Dorset Police about this, but all three, none of them have decided to respond with a comment. But we did reach out to them to get their side of the story. If you're from Bournemouth, maybe you want to give me a call. 03444991000. Let's go to break. We'll squeeze some calls in before the end of the show. That next. Stay tuned.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Couple of texts and messages I've been sent. This is from Clive. Great show, Kev. Thanks, Clive. Just a question, though. Does the HS2 budget include any trains? I wouldn't have thought so, Clive. There'll be extra, of course. They don't need trains. They're not running yet. They haven't finished the track. Not until 2033, and they won't have finished then. Ridiculous. Peter says, talking about Rachel Reeves, that video where she was getting it in the neck on that petrol station forecourt. Peter says, Reeves, she deserved that, long overdue. This is about those criminal, the 1-year-old baby desperado. This is Amanda. Give me strength. The lunatics really have taken over the asylum. Criminal toddlers. It's criminal toddlers. Maybe the police should set up a toddler squad specifically devoted to arresting 1-year-olds, to cracking down on the baby crime epidemic. What do you think? Here is Graham. Graham from Bushy says, with all the cost cutting in the construction of HS2, maybe HS2 will refer to the trains only being able to take 2 passengers, probably. And Graham says about Mike Tapp and his dog. I think Mike Tapp's dog would talk more sense than him. No doubt about that. Let's go to the... oh, no, we've got a WhatsApp voice note. This is Dave on digital ID.
Just wanted to say about the digital ID thing. Look, I think you're right. British people don't want it, and it isn't a British thing to do. However, we are a product of our surroundings. So we've imported so many people into this country, and most of them we don't know where the hell they are. So I can understand why and how the government needs to try to keep a track of people. This is the only solution to that. So whilst you're 100% right, it's not a British thing to do, but are we British anymore, really?
Well, you know, the government is trying to sell us digital IDs as a way of keeping tabs on the migrant crisis. That's just a tactic. It's nothing to do with the migrant crisis, so I'm not buying that one. But nice message, Dave. Thank you very much. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Carl in London. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right. So you've got family in Bournemouth, I hear.
Yeah, I've got 2 daughters and I have grandsons and granddaughters. Mm-hmm. Now, you was talking about tourism in Bournemouth, how it affects tourism. Yeah. But I've told my daughters and my grandsons not to go to Bournemouth. So it's not just affecting tourism, Kevin. What it's affecting is every trading person. Of
course it is, yeah.
Because there are people saying don't go to Bournemouth. Not just tourism, local people. So what's happening is people are not going. It probably end up being a ghost town. Because
I think I hear, Carl, it's heading in that direction already, that loads and loads of shops and businesses are all boarded up because they couldn't make a living anymore. As I say, you're right. I mean, there's more to Bournemouth than just the tourist industry, but the tourist industry was very, very important to that town, that seaside resort, and that tourist industry is basically, it's plummeted, absolutely plummeted. So a thriving, beautiful seaside town and community have been reduced to not much at all really now, almost a ghost town, as you say.
But it's gone beyond that, Kevin. It's gone beyond that. I'm telling my children and my grandchildren, my grandsons are older, but my 2 little granddaughters are younger, but I've been telling them don't go to Bournemouth. It affects pubs, it affects businesses. It's not just tourism. It's going to affect everything, every single thing. And there must be a lot of parents like me with children living there saying, don't go to Bournemouth. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous for women.
I tell you, yeah, I don't know how old you are, Carl, but I'm of a certain...
I'm 70.
Okay, 74. Well, you'll get it then, because I'm of a certain age as well, perhaps not quite as ancient as you, but seriously.
You look younger than me, Kevin.
But the idea, just, you know, from when we were younger, the idea of saying, don't go to Bournemouth, it's dangerous. It's the most ridiculous thing. I mean, Bournemouth was the opposite of dangerous. It was the most genteel, serene South Coast seaside resort that we had. People used to go there to retire. People who had done well in life would move to Bournemouth to retire, and now it's a dangerous no-go zone. What on earth has the government done?
You've got it exactly spot on. It used to be a lovely place. I mean, I'm 74. I remember back in the late 50s and early 60s. It was a beautiful town, and it was just a nice place, but the government has turned it into a dangerous place.
Yeah, without asking the people.
It's not just Bournemouth, Kevin. It's towns all over the country. Their policies of letting these people roam the streets. Reform said they're keeping in detention, and it's got to be done. They must be kept in detentions until we know who they are. I mean, there's rapes in Bournemouth. There's attacks from machetes. Who the hell wants their kids or family to be in Bournemouth now?
No,
but it's not just Bournemouth, Kevin.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of other towns. There's a lot of other towns around the country.
Over the country.
Yeah. No, it's a national problem, but Bournemouth seems to have. It's become like ground zero in our escalating asylum seeker sex crime crisis. That is the big problem there, Carl. Carl, excellent call. Thank you very much. Call me again. That's Carl in London. Let's talk to Mary in Hemel Hempstead. Hello, Mary. What would you like to say?
Well, it's regarding this by-election.
In Makerfield, yes.
I just feel that the Tories and Restore...
Mm-hmm. Well, no. Well, sorry, go on. Yeah.
Restore, that they are really very foolish, and that what they're showing is this...
Oh, you mean like splitting the right-wing vote?
Yeah. I just feel that they're doing, doing a lot of damage. Hang on, my dog's tearing her bed.
That's all right.
Oh, dog.
Yeah.
She's a puppy. She's a bull terrier puppy, and she's
I know what they're like. But anyway, you were saying.
What?
Yeah. So you think that Restore and the Tories should stand down and give the Reform UK candidate, Robert Kenyon, a clean run at it, yeah?
Yes, they should. They're going to otherwise they're gifting it to Labour and they'll regret it. And I've got friends who were wavering and thinking, Kemi Badenoch was very good. They were thinking of going back to the Tories. They've turned away now. They've said, they're no different as they were.
Of course, the politicians, they never, ever, they always got to fight each other. It's part of their creed. It's ridiculous.
Oh, me.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, though. I still think that Robert Kenyon, the Reform UK candidate, is very strong. Local man, self-made plumber, pipe fitter. He'll go down well there. I think he's got every chance of beating Andy Burnham, but it's going to be close. It'll be interesting. But you're right. It doesn't help that the Tories and Restore are going to field their own candidates. Mary, good call. My regards to your dog. Mary in Hemel Hempstead there, with a dog who's tearing up her bedclothes. I know that syndrome very, very well. Let's talk to Jill in Cornwall. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? All right?
I'm okay. Burnham Streeting. What?
Oh, gosh. I don't know how you stay calm in your programme.
I'm not famous for staying calm.
I would find myself probably taken offline. I'm sorry, but I don't care which one of these two mugs actually stand for elect. I don't care. It doesn't matter which one of them was to replace Starmer. They're all blinking useless. All of them are useless. And the policies that they will push forward has done nothing for this country so far. Nothing.
Well, Andy Burnham, who's trying to appeal to solid Brexiteer Northerners because the Makerfield's very Brexit, he wants to rejoin the EU. He wants to let blokes into ladies' loos and safe women's spaces. He's very keen on net zero and so on and so forth. He stands for everything that the solid working class people of Makerfield detest.
I just think it's horrifying to hear how these towns and cities are turning into places you certainly wouldn't want to go.
Yeah, I know. We were just talking about Bournemouth. You probably heard it. I mean, Bournemouth, of all places, is now a dangerous no-go zone because they filled it with migrants. What on earth do they think they're doing?
Well, they've done nothing. They've done nothing to sort out the migrant thing, and they won't do anything to sort it out. It's just going to get worse and worse. And I'm sorry, but I just think that it doesn't matter which one stands for to be the Prime Minister or whatever, or leader of the Labour Party. It doesn't make any difference. All of them within that party are a complete waste of blinking time. And it irritates me, the fact that we're paying them the type of wages that they're drawing, and yet they do not and have done nothing for the people who have paid their taxes, kept this country in the state that it's been in all this time until they stepped into the mix of things. And now it feels like we're sliding downhill, and I just can't stand it. I cannot stand it.
I know what you feel. I know what you mean. I'm with you. Jill, stay strong and call me again. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you. Jill in Cornwall. Peter Cardwell is in the studio. He's just plugging himself in. What have you got lined up for the entertainment of our audience all the way to 10 p.m?
Well, it's a busy show. I mean, Robert Kenyon, who's the Reform candidate in Makerfield, is certainly causing some problems for Labour in lots of different ways, but they're attacking him for his social media. We also saw...
Yeah, are they going to go, he's racist?
Of course they are.
Pathetic.
I don't know about you, but I don't know the views of every single person on my Facebook